All right, good evening. Welcome to the City of Rochester regularly scheduled City Council meeting. City Clerk, could I have the roll call, please?
Sylvia.
Here.
Bixson.
Here.
Hauser.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
King. Absent. Sage.
Here.
Trent.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome this evening. Love to see everyone's smiling faces here in Council Chambers. We've got a good crowd here tonight. At the start of the meeting, I want to congratulate Councilmember Trent. I believe your mom turned 99 today,
Yeah.
so that's pretty exciting. Congrats.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'll let her
Good
know.
longevity.
Excellent.
Wonderful. To begin with, do we have any public comment for something that is not on our agenda tonight? Any public comment from the audio? Or the call-in, the Zoom? Brian, any public comment? I'm going to take that as none. If there is some, we'll come back to it. So moving right along, we're going to move on to we have got our Oakland County assessing presentation tonight. So we've got Brian Paris and Raul D'Souza, who is going to give us a presentation. I'd like to thank both of you for being here tonight, as well as our members of the Board of Review, Kyle Houston, Jana Yearsback, and is there some? Yazik. Is there? And Juanita. So those are our residents. They're on that Board of Review. So gentlemen, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Council, Manager, Banda, Attorney Crott, Clerk. I'm Brian Paris. This is Raul D'Souza. We're from Equalization. We work in the real property section and we handle the residential valuation for the City of Rochester. So this packet is full of pre-Board of Review information. In order to be timely for the agenda, we had to give you information that was developed before we held the Board of Review. When our manager, Michael Lohmeyer, came on board, he thought it was important that we develop a mission and vision statement so that the residents, business owners, community stakeholders knew who we were and what we're about. So our mission is to serve through collaborative leadership and help support communities where residents flourish and businesses thrive. And our vision is to be a healthy, safe, and thriving place where everyone is valued, quality of life is high, and economic opportunity abounds. So we realize that our work is important, it's impactful, it makes a real difference for your residents and your business owners and what they pay in their annual tax. Ethics and competency is a huge priority for our organization. The law actually states that it's a misdemeanor for an assessor to sign a roll that they didn't have direct supervision over. And each assessor also has to certify that they abide by the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which is a set of standards that ensures quality valuation, and it instills public trust, and it says that we have to produce work that is both meaningful and credible. Every staff person at Equalization takes USPAP, and some of the employees at Equalization hold multiple certifications, licensures, belong to professional organizations outside of assessing. We come from a pretty large organization. There's between 70 and 80 of us. As I said, Raul and I come from the real property section, so we handle residential valuation. We have business personal property auditors. They go into the businesses to value the assets that are held by the business owners. Think of like a restaurant, the tables, the chairs, the maitre d's kiosk. We have our land descriptions department, which handles the splits and combinations for all the jurisdictions within Oakland County, not just our contract partners. Land division is something that initiates at the local unit, and our department implements the changes once we verify it complies with the Land Division Act, the Condominium Act, and we update the parcel map and records accordingly. We have a section that deals with just appeals, so when something progresses from your local Board of Review to the Michigan Tax Tribunal, that team reviews the matters to see if we can stipulate to a settlement or if necessary, move forward to an appeal before the Michigan Tax Tribunal or the State Tax Commission. We come from equalization, so in most counties, the equalization department does not do contract assessing. That's something that's kind of unique in Oakland County. But the primary function of an equalization department is to be the checks and balances on each municipality's assessor to make sure that all of their classes of property are uniform and valued at 50%. And if that doesn't happen, we render a report to the County Board of Commissioners, and they implement a change to bring those assessing jurisdictions up to a uniform and 50% level. The last section in our office is our office support team, which processes documents. They implement principal residence exemptions on properties. Our website is listed here, and there's just a wealth of information on our website. If you want to ever compare assessments and tax rates or taxable values in other communities, those reports are there. The equalization report is a holistic report that has an accounting of every jurisdiction's assessed and taxable value. We also have a Proposal A flyer there that's updated annually. The change notice, an example of the document with an explanation of what is contained within the document. We have resources for those individuals that come to the Board of Review. We have sales information so that they can develop a good case to bring to the Board of Review and potentially get relief if they're entitled to such relief. Something that we just added recently is a citizen suggestion link. So if residents, realtors, anyone wants to communicate with us, they can even do so anonymously. If they want feedback from us, they have to tell us who they are, but you can click on this link and send a message to equalization. The communities shaded in green, those are the communities in which we perform contract assessing services. So we handle about half the community, or half the county rather, as contract assessor. And Raul's going to talk with you a bit about what has transpired in creating the 2025 rule.
Yes. Hello, Council. Thank you guys for having us. I'll be talking a little bit about the specific metrics for Rochester. So on this slide here, it shows the parcel counts separated by the class. We see real residential is the largest class in terms of parcel count. You have 4,500, then about 370 real commercials, and 44 industrial properties, totaling to about 4,900 real property parcels. And this is the 2024 count. The 2025 count might change slightly, and that will be released this spring. So here this slide shows the average of residential property values. So for 2024, the average selling price was $497,000, and the average residential assessed value came in at about $222,000. And that assessed value includes both vacant and improved lots. And this slide here shows the value changes for 2025. Separated by class, and this is also pre-March Board review information. Brian and I will be sharing some of the post-March Board changes. It changed slightly, but not too much. We see commercial moved at about 3.13%, industrial led the way at 6.2%, residential at 4.87%, and then in total, the real property taxable values for Rochester increased 5.4%. And this table here shows all our different, every township, not just our contracted ones, but townships and cities on their moves over the year. Our county average was 6%, and Nancy and I had talked earlier. She was kind of wondering why the difference, even though Rochester is a great community, why it came in a little less than the average.
We're not average.
And that move, it's kind of hard to explain. Well, not really hard to explain, but it's all data driven, right? It's just kind of the way it fell. Some of the cities like Pontiac and Hazel Park, who were hit harder by the recession, have recovered more than, say, Rochester or any other community. So that kind of skews it a little bit, but Rochester's doing great in general.
Don't worry, Nancy.
And so this just shows in the map, the table that I showed earlier, just so you can get a little better picture visually. And this is the same table, but this shows the changes in commercial and industrial. So the average county commercial for all of Oakland County was 2.83%, and industrial 4.44%. And you can see Rochester to the right of those highlighted golden boxes. And these are the taxable value changes. As we know, taxable value different than assessed value throughout the county.
So, turning back to personal property, this is what transpired in 2024. We had 5 filings for eligible manufacturing personal property statements. For your small business exemption, there were 689 filings, and we processed 117 personal property statements. That is the businesses self-reporting the assets that they hold. Since 2012, the legislature has been really pro-business and expanding exemptions on personal property. There were some changes in personal property filings. In 2023, the small business taxpayer exemption was expanded from those business owners that had $80,000 true cash in assets up to $180,000 in true cash of personal property assets. A personal property owner must file both an exemption claim form and a statement outlining those personal property assets. With eligible manufacturing personal property, that is equipment and machinery that is related to manufacturing. There have been some changes in the filing for that as well. Beginning in 2023, taxpayers just need to file their form, and then they fall into the state's refiling scheme. As far as essential services assessments reimbursement related to the exemption of eligible manufacturing personal property, this is a list of all the cities and the amounts that were paid to them for the essential services assessment. You can see Rochester got about $245,000 in October of 2024. This is the townships, just to provide information for a comparison basis. So as part of our cap value formula and the way that a person's taxable value is adjusted from one year to the next, inflation is an important part of that formula. So near the page number on the slide, the 18 there, you can see the cap value formula. And it says that the cap value for 2025 is the 2024 taxable value minus losses, which would be physical removals of value from the property. You multiply that by the rate of inflation multiplier, and then you add any additions, any physical improvements added to the property. And that is how somebody who has not sold their home from one year to the next, that is how their taxable value adjusts from year to year. The CPI, or the interest rate multiplier, comes from the Department of Bureau and Labor Statistics. They measure the cost of goods and services from one period to the next to tell us what inflation is. In Michigan, the cap value formula has a limitation to it. We cannot use a figure greater than 5, so 5%, to increase taxable values from one year to the next unless there have been physical improvements. So we did use the max rate in the past 2 years. Inflation in 2024 was 5.1, and the year prior, inflation was actually 7.9%, almost 8%. But our state constitution limits the amount of growth in taxable values according to Proposal A. And a little later in the presentation, I'll talk about Headley, which creates a limitation on taxable value growth by rolling back your millage rates. So people sometimes get confused. Proposal A affects individual properties. Headley impacts the community by rolling down the millage rate. This is a representation of historical inflation rate multipliers since Proposal A was adopted in 1994. So you can see in the right columns, 2025 is the last value listed. 2023 has a note that we used the 5% in the cap value formula, but for the rollback, we used real inflation that was 7.9%. Last year, again, inflation outpaced the cap, but we used 5% instead of the 5.1. This is just a graphic representation of that history of the inflation rate multiplier and CPI. Historically, 2.44% is the average, but we've seen these large highs in the past 3 years of 5%, with it really being 7.9 in 2023. So I mentioned the Headley rollback. This is legislation from 1978 that says you can't bring in more revenue than the rate of inflation absent physical improvements construction that is brought onto the roll. So when a community has like a lot of sales, a lot of pop-ups, that generates more revenue for the community than it would get otherwise. So pop-ups exacerbate, they make your rollback worse. This is the formula to determine a rollback, and the numerator is missing some parentheses. It's prior year taxable value minus losses, and then that product is multiplied by the inflation rate multiplier, which is 3.1% this year. The denominator is the current year taxable value minus additions. I mentioned that pop-ups tend to exacerbate your rollback, so the more sales you have, the more taxable value that is uncapping. That makes your rollback worse. Having a really high CPI is good. Having a low CPI, that's bad. It exacerbates your rollback as well. The market's been quite strong. We don't have the influences that we saw in the recession regarding sheriff's deeds. This is a chart listing sheriff's deeds all the way back to 2020. You can see they're quite low in 2024, only 303 countywide. As far as open tribunal cases, there are just these two, and these are not value appeals. These are actually challenges to a special assessment district, I believe a principal shopping district. And then Raul will talk a little bit about what transpired at Board of Review and what happened with your final moves as far as assessed value and tax.
Yeah, so we had a pretty good Board of Review, not too busy this year. I guess people were happy with their values. We had about 22 value petitions, 10 commercial, 12 residential, and they didn't move our assessed and taxable by too great of a factor. I think in total, the taxable value was reduced around 78,000. And then, yeah, so I have some of the exact figures on how that move to affect those values I spoke on earlier. So at the end, our the residential average assessed moved 4.78%. This number down there.
Residential at 4.51.
4.51. Yep. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yep. The industrial moved 5.94%, and the commercial moved 3.36%. And then in terms of personal property, we had a lot of personal property late statements this year that had to be decided at the board. So that change was quite larger. It was 22.75%.
Yeah, the difference in taxable value for personal property from last year to this year was a positive 22.75%. And that's it for our presentation, unless you have any questions or would like to hear anything else.
So Brian and Ryan, thank you, or Raul, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, you perform a really important service for the city. This is where our revenue comes from, is from these property tax rolls. Your information was very complete. Appreciate the thoroughness. Council, any follow-up questions? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. So item A, we have the minutes of the regular meeting, February 24th. Item B, we have consideration to approve the St. John Lutheran Family Praise and Picnic in the park. That event is August 24th. Item C, consideration to approve the Makers Market event. That's June 21st. That's a Saturday on 4th Street. Consideration to approve the OPC 5K Run Walk Meals on Wheels. That is Saturday, June 7th. And a first-time event, consideration to approve Haven Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Again, this is the first time they've done this. It's a walk. It's going to be held on Friday, April 14th from 4 to 7 p.m. And then lastly, we have the check register report. Council?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem,
Support.
support by Counselor Sage, any discussion? City Clerk?
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Consent agenda passes. Old business and tabled items, we have none. Moving on to public hearings. First, we're going to have a public hearing regarding the approval of Elizabeth Park, a grant application. You know, I love grants. I love getting other people's money into the city of Rochester, especially for grants to improve our parks. So Jason, are you starting this one? I know we have our grant writer here tonight. So I know there's been a lot of talk about Elizabeth Park over the years, and it looks like, Jason, you know, we're so happy to have you here. You jumped on it, and you're trying to get us some money. So tell us about it.
Good evening, thank you. Yeah, so this is for Elizabeth Park. This is the DNR Trust Fund grant, which I think you're all familiar with. So this would be to invest in Elizabeth Park. Brian from McKenna is here with us virtually to go over the concept plan. And then Linda's here to speak as well. So the grant is, we're applying for $375,000 with a $125,000 match. So an investment to the park of $500,000.
And so the action being requested of council is to request the grant, committing, if we receive the grant, the matching funds of $125,000.
Correct.
And those would be 2027 budget year
That is correct.
funds, so not in the current budget cycle we're talking about. And then I did have a question. I thought I saw two numbers in the packet. I saw 125 and I saw 100,000.
Yeah, so originally we had it written for, the grant is a max of $400,000 with a 25% match. So the way it was written was our $100,000 was 25% of the $400,000. But the way the grant language is, it's the 25% is of the total project cost. So we have a $500,000 total project planned. So 25% of 500,000 is 125. So that's our share, and then we would apply for the 375 for the grant.
Okay, and can we get those matching funds from any other sources, or does it have to be city funds?
I don't know, Linda, do you have the answer to that?
Good evening.
Good.
The thing of it is, tonight, we have to commit, the city would commit the match of $125,000. The match can come from other sources, you know, as far as that. If somebody from the DDA, not to put Christie or the board on the spot, if they wanted to contribute. But we have to have the financial commitment tonight with the resolution that the city is committed for the $125,000. We have to have that in place. We've got to show that to the state, that, and with the resolution that you have in your packet as well, if that answers it for you.
Counsel? Counselor Jones?
I just want to hear a little bit more about the details.
So if we could hear from McKenna. Brian, I believe you're on. Uh-oh, still on mute.
Brian said we couldn't hear. Uh-oh.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, Brian said he couldn't hear you.
Can we go to closed caption or something?
Try a different one. I was gonna say that is the right one. Just bear with us a second, we're having a fun.
He's gonna call in.
He's going to call.
He's not.
Whose phone is he calling on?
I always say technology's wonderful when it works.
Sounds bad. I don't see any other, is there any other?
Brian, we couldn't hear Brian earlier either, Anthony.
Yeah, we were testing before. Sound check and, no,
No.
you're out.
He called somebody's phone and put it by the mic.
HD, estimator.
All right, Brian, check again.
No.
I just got a text again. Chris said he communicated the guy and I supposed to check on it.
It's always good when the test works, before.
Sign language? I can't read it.
Yeah, he can hear us.
So if you can hear us, why don't you just go through it and pretend like you're talking?
No.
Show us the pictures
That's why,
and use your
go
cursor.
to closed caption.
We can help.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use your.
Anything?
Oh, hey,
Wait,
keep talking, keep talking.
Don't stop. Don't
Go,
stop.
yes.
go.
All right.
Alrighty. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So Brian, can you
Well,
tell us a little
Mayor?
bit more?
Yes, Mayor and Council, thank you for having me this evening. I met a few of you at MML last week. Good to see your faces again. I am Brian Kesey from McKenna. I am a senior principal planner with the firm and do all of our mapping. So even though I don't always work directly for the city, I touch all of the maps and things that we do for you. So I am familiar with the community. And last time I was there, I had brunch. I forget the place right downtown. It was delicious. But anyways, thank you for having me this evening. I am here to talk about the park at Elizabeth Street. And one of the things that I think is important to understand or to share with the council this evening is when you updated your master plan a few years ago, you were defining the things that you'd like to see in the future for your parks. You had some very specific recommendations that came out of your interactions with the public for Elizabeth Street. So I wanted to highlight a few of those things here that I think are important that informed the design that we're requesting funding for from the state. So the takeaways here were the addition of natural looking play equipment that's unique to other existing playgrounds in the city. You wanted to modernize pathways and picnic tables and site amenities. You wanted to ensure that there were sidewalk connections throughout. And then the addition of other amenities like hammock posts, dog waste receptacles, outdoor grills, those sorts of amenities. So we took a shot at incorporating those into the plan here. And one thing to understand is for the grant itself, we are only applying for a portion of the park at this point in time, given the budget limitations of the DNR Trust Fund grant. So what we have tonight, and I'll talk through a little bit of detail there, we are covering playground infrastructure, so the equipment, the playground surface, butterfly gardens, those sorts of things that go around it. But what we're not requesting this evening would be what we've considered in your packet as phase 2. So that would be a concrete pad for the pavilion, maybe adult exercise equipment in the future on the south side of the park. Those items are not included. So here we're focusing on a new pathway through the park that connects up to the existing sidewalk that runs up and down Elizabeth Street. So it's a curvilinear pathway through the park. We've got connections, importantly, to existing crosswalk connections that go across Elizabeth Street here on the south end. But we heard also that we wanted to incorporate butterfly gardens. So we chose native plantings. If you look into the budget that is provided in the packet, chose native butterfly plantings that we intend to have planted on berms. So those will do things really for us. They'll start to define some of the spaces a little bit better. So on the south end of the park here, we have some land forming, some sculpting that'll provide some visual interest. It'll also block some views, which tends to create visual interest from passersby. But then we are also as I zoom in over to the play area, also got some butterfly gardens that are going to line the sidewalks, delineate some spaces too. So those will be nice features. We did choose a mixture of surfaces for the play equipment. So if you look closely here, as I zoom in, you've got this circular hatch. This would be a rubberized surface underneath some of the larger play equipment. Then here under looks almost like a brick hatching under portions would be a more traditional engineered wood surface, wood mulch surface for that. In terms of the play equipment itself, we started out with some naturalized integrated berm equipment, tunnels through hills, those sorts of things. When we started pricing out some of that equipment, it just put us outside of the scope of this grant application maximum. And so we understand that you've used some of the Burke equipment in other parks. And so we chose different items for this park that will fit. And we can, when it gets down to the grant award and actually purchasing the equipment, we can choose a different colorway to tie these elements together and also differentiate it from your other part. So there are some really cool features here that you haven't seen before in your other parks. So I think kids will really enjoy that. Other items that we've spec'd include some new bike racks, a bike repair station that we would put right along Elizabeth Street. And then we've also spec'd out locations for pet waste placed in intervals along the sidewalk path that goes through the park, and a few park grills as well. So that's the overview. And the other thing that I want to highlight here before I end is that this design allows you to keep the open lawn area that's out there today. It's a great space for less organized play, for picnics, for festivals, for just lounging in the sun, because you have a nice open space in there as well. So it allows us to construct phase one, allow you to continue to utilize the space in a similar manner in terms of the lawn, but also it sets us up for future locations for that concrete pavilion. And if you choose in the future to do the exercise equipment on the south end, we're preserving a nice open space for that as well. So that's the end of my presentation, but I can take specific questions if there are any this evening.
Great. Council, any other questions from council? And then we'll open the public hearing. Any other questions? Councilor Trent?
Hey, well, you had me at the butterfly garden, like each time you said it. It's good to see you. So on the grill, I like the grill. However, are there picnic tables around there? Are they gonna grill and eat? Or I can't remember if there's any tables. Or do we?
We did not spec specific tables, but we understand that the city has a preferred table and a preferred bench. We just didn't include it for the purposes of this application.
Yeah.
So you could certainly supplement outside of this application.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. I'm excited. I've been wanting this to happen for years.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to open the public hearing. Looks like it is 7:35. Opening the public hearing. Do we have any public comment regarding the Elizabeth Park DNR grant application?
If there's none from the audience, I do have a letter of support that I'd like to read into the record. If somebody is not here, just read that. We received from the Homeowners Association, from the Condo Association that surrounds it. And in fact, Jason had just sent this to me before, and I'm going to include it in our application, because that's the other thing. Also, Senator Weber's going to give us a letter of support for this application as well. Thank you for sending the concept plan on Friday for the proposed Elizabeth Park improvements. I was able to share the plan right away with the board to seek their endorsement of the project. Our condominium association, Rochester Park, consists of 99 co-owners, and 3 of our 9 buildings overlook the park and are immediately adjacent to it. We are aware that the City Council will be reviewing the plan tonight and have plans to pursue a grant from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. It appears from the concepts that the park will go from its current passive state to a more active park, including play structures and fitness activities for people of all ages. With the location of these improvements being kept closer to Elizabeth Street, the board did not feel that the improvements would have any detrimental effect on the condominiums because of the activity or noise. In fact, we are hopeful that the city's level of maintenance at the park will improve due to the investment and regular use of the park by the community. We also believe that it will be a desirable amenity for current and future residents of Rochester Park condominiums and perhaps even increase property values. As a result, the Rochester Park Condominium Association Board of Directors, I cannot see without my glasses, the following consensus vote, and absent of an action that would take place at a regularly scheduled board meeting. Motion by Warren Boy, supported by Walker, to endorse the proposed improvements to Elizabeth Park and show the, as shown by the conceptual plan and shared with the board by the city on Friday, March 21st, 2025. It was unanimously voted to approve it. So thank you for letting me read that into the
Thank
record.
you. It's a very nice letter. Thank you.
Good to
City
know.
Clerk, do we have any other written correspondence?
Not on this item, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to close the public hearing, 7:37. Council. I'm looking for a motion, guys.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
So what is your motion?
My motion is for a resolution to support the grant application from the Michigan Natural Resources Fund and commit matching funds in the total of $125,000.
Thank you, Counselor Trent.
I second.
Support by Counselor Jones. Any other discussion? City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes, so I think this could be a great addition for the young families that live in the neighborhood to have a place to walk and play. I think it'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item B, a second public hearing regarding reprogramming of our 2021 CDBG funds. So let's see, I'm looking around, who's got one?
Jeremy?
Jeremy's got this one. So these are our Pathways funds, right?
Good morning, or good evening, Council. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, so I was here last month, or last meeting, to ask for the reprogramming of the funds, to expand the current plan to redo the pathways in the park on either, I guess it would be the east and west side of the current plan. I think it should be in the council packet. I don't have it pulled up, but the expansion of the map is there. So just looking for a motion or any questions that after you've seen the plan, I'm happy to answer.
So we're just setting a motion to have a public hearing?
No, this is the
This is
public
the
hearing.
public hearing,
This is the public hearing, and this is to reprogram them to reprogram the 2021 funds.
Correct.
Okay.
So any questions, council, or I'll open the public hearing?
Nope.
Okay, opening the public hearing at 7:39. Any public comment? 7:39 and a half, we're closing the public hearing. Council, do we have a motion to reprogram these funds?
Sure. I'll make a motion to reprogram the funds consistent with the information that's provided in the packet.
Thank you, Counselor Hauser.
I'll support.
Support by Counselor Trent. City Clerk, the roll call.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, the public hearing regarding the special assessment, SAD, for the principal shopping district.
Oh, I have it here.
So I know we have Christy Tavaro coming forward on this one.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening. So as we go into this, I just want to say from a mayor's perspective, I am so happy we are having this discussion at this point in our budget cycle. Last year, somehow, we didn't have this discussion until after we had approved the budget, so I'm happy we are talking about the assessment ahead of the budget. We're continually getting better in our budgeting process, so let's talk about the PSD renewal.
Great, thank you, Council. Good evening again. I do apologize for Council. This is going to be a little bit of repeat from last month's, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago's presentation to request the setting of the public hearing. So this is going to provide you with a little bit of an overview of exactly what it is that the PSD does. We're going to talk about funding, how the PSD gets its funding, not just from the assessment, but from other sources as well. We're going to talk about strategy and value, how we do what we do and why we do it. We'll go through our events, and then we'll go through things that we do that are not events. We'll go through the assessment proposal, and then we'll answer any questions, and then from there, we'll throw it back to Council. So, again, I apologize, Council, you've seen a few of these things before, but I mixed a few things up just to keep it fresh, so here we go. So the PSD overview, for anyone who is not familiar, this is actually from the City Code. The goal of the Shopping District Board shall be to promote the economic activity in the principal shopping district of the city. It's authorized and empowered, but not limited to conduct market research and public relations campaigns, develop, coordinate, and conduct retail and institutional promotions, and to sponsor special events and related activities. The PSD has been in existence in Rochester since the 1990s. For our PSD funding, we actually get our funding from 3 sources, and the numbers I'll show you are based on the current PSD budget. We receive from our PSD assessment 46% of the funding. That is assessment on properties in the district based on location and assessed annually on a per square foot basis. We also receive money from our friends at the DDA. They provide financial support in partnership to support the districts and our efforts, and that's 23% of our budget. And then the other 31% is fundraising. That is every ad we sell, sponsorships we sell, cooperative advertising opportunities for the businesses, vendor fees, registration fees, and some of our ticketed fundraising events that we do. Councilmember Sage, these are the percentages you asked for 2 weeks ago, so I just went ahead and included them here. So, strategy and value. So there's a few things that we wanted to hit on. We do this to make Rochester a destination for residents and visitors through a diverse offering of special events, promotions, and social interactions. We create an environment in which small businesses can grow and thrive. We're very proud that 95% of our businesses are independently owned and operated and calling Rochester home. And small businesses need as much support as they can get, and that's really the focus of a lot of our efforts. We provide access to marketing initiatives and media outlets for our businesses to increase their reach. We have a much larger reach than a lot of our businesses because, again, they are small businesses, and so we love to take that and leverage it for their mutual benefit. And then last but not least, we want to create a place for our residents and visitors that inspires people to love where they live, which I know everyone is a big fan of Rochester, would have liked to see those values up higher with you, Mayor Salvia, I know, right? So, having said all of that, but why do we do what we do? So, there's 4 different categories that we use when we are talking about things that we plan. 4 purposes, that they have to hit at least one, many of them hit multiple. Awareness building. We can't do an event every day, so awareness building is things that we do on non-event times, whether it's through our social media, our magazine, our website, or other activities, because we always want Rochester to have some type of top-of-mind awareness at all times. Fundraising, those are things like, for instance, our Movie in the Moonlight, or our Halloween Fest. It's something that may not necessarily be ringing the registers, but it makes people want to come to town. It makes them walk around the streets, see things, and then they would come back to visit us. I always say if we can get people to Rochester once, we'll get them to come back again. Fundraising, of course, as we mentioned previously with some of our funding, we do fundraising. Some of our events are pure fundraising. And then we do a lot of register ringing because, of course, for the small businesses, they need those days that we're telling everybody, come on down and spend some money. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So for our events, this is, and I explained this last time, if you're looking at this photo and wondering what the heck this is from Rochester Pose, which is our live mannequin event. This is Hairspray. This is actually the opening scene from Hairspray on Broadway. This was in Kimmy K's window, this was the winner this last year. So, yeah, that's that. So, we do 16 different traditional events downtown. The Frost Festival, which takes place in January, that is formerly the Fire and Ice Festival that we used to do with Oakland County. We've had to pull it back since Oakland County stepped away, but we do have ideas for the future to hopefully bring that back at a Fire and Ice level. The Farmers Market, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with, we just celebrated our 25th year of the Farmers Market last year. And there's a lot that the DDA is working on in that area with our new project, the Market and the Graham. Deck Art, which is coming up right now, that was a couple slides ago where you saw skateboard decks. We engage over 400 local artists from the Metro Detroit community to come and display their artwork in over 50 businesses downtown. Our Makers Market, which is a recently added event. This will be our third Makers Market that we do on 4th Street in June. It's a way to engage our local makers and crafters, as well as our small businesses downtown. Sidewalk sales, which I think everybody's familiar with. We're coming up on 75 years next year, so we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do about that. Dancing in the Street, I know that's a favorite of Mayor Pro Tem's. Dance in the Street is part of sidewalk sales. It's on the Friday night. Over the years, it's taken place over several Friday nights. We've done it over a long weekend, and it currently resides on the Friday night of sidewalk sales. Movies in the Moonlight, we have scheduled for 3 this year. This is where we take over the Farmers Market parking lot and pop up a movie screen and have a movie under the stars, and it's a free movie, and it's sponsored by local businesses. This year, both the Farmers Market and Movies in the Moonlight are relocating to the upper parking deck because of the new Graham construction project. Rochester Posed, which is the photo that you see right there, is our live mannequin event that takes place in October. For the 2-hour event, it's on from 7 to 9. We get about 5,000 people downtown just for that single event. Downtown Trick or Treat or Halloween Fest, if you've ever been around here the weekend prior to Halloween, it is crazy town. We tell people on Main Street that they need about 3,000 pieces of candy for the amount of kids that come down to trick or treat in a 90-minute period. And then after that, we invite them currently to the Farmers Market lot, soon to be the upper parking deck, to participate with a lot of local businesses that set up crafts and activities, and they can meet the Ghostbusters and take photos with giant skeletons and all kinds of fun things that we plan down there. The Festival of Trees is one of our fundraising events that recently celebrated its 10th anniversary this past year. And that now is going for, all the funds go to support the Big Bright Light Show, which for the PSD is the largest expenditure in the PSD budget. Lanyap, which I think everyone is familiar with, this last year, or 2 years ago, was our 50th anniversary. Now we have been able to work with a very amenable MDOT where we can close Main Street. Working with Chief John and Chief George, they were able to give us some estimates on the crowd. For Lanyap alone, we see 50,000 people come downtown. Pair that up with the Big Bright Light Show, and for the days that the show is aglow, this past year, according to county figures through Placer AI, we had 1.5 million people come see the Big Bright Light Show during the days the show is aglow. The show also represents 30 to 40% of our business's annual sales for every year. Plaid Friday and Small Business Saturdays, it's right after Thanksgiving. Plaid Friday came as a concept that came from down south. So we give out free tote bags. It's all sponsored by one of our local credit unions, and it's all about trying to incent people to shop downtown on that big holiday weekend. The Downtown Cookie Stroll, which just heading back to Renee from OPC, they're one of our big sponsors for this event, and they actually have people come out to OPC to see that. But the idea behind the cookie stroll is, again, it takes place during the Kris Kringle Market. People can buy a ticket ahead of time, and they get a cookie tin. From that cookie tin, then they get a postcard, and they go around to about 15 businesses to pick up cookies. The cookies, when I say cookie, it's not a cookie, it's a cookie. It's a big 3 or 4 inch cookie that they have to put into the tin. And this has become a great fundraiser for us. It's super popular, and we actually are adding a second one. So this year, due to popular demand, I know we talked about it last year here at council, that we're adding a Friday night cookie stroll and then a Saturday cookie stroll. So different audiences, we'll see where it goes, but this is a great fundraiser for us. The Kris Kringle Market, which takes place on 4th Street and now Walnut as well. We expanded last year due to popular demand, because if anyone came to Kris Kringle, it's crazy town the way that it's packed. Kris Kringle is our second largest weekend of the Big Bright Light Show in terms of traffic downtown. And then last but not least, a recent addition, working with our friends at the fire department, Pancakes and PJs, which is just a cute little fundraiser. And it's a nice way for families to come down, have some pancakes, meet some firemen, see Santa, and it goes back to that fundraising, but also fundraising. But we do a lot of things that are not events, because I think if we kept doing events every single day, people would be a little tired of it. So we do other things, I like to call them not events. Foodie February, this is actually something that started during COVID. It was in response to asking people to please come and support our businesses, because, especially our restaurants, because a lot of our retailers may have already had a web presence, but a lot of our restaurants, when everything got shuttered, they didn't necessarily have a website where they could do carry out already. People really had to scramble. I'm looking at Danny Bologna, who was super successful during COVID with the way that he was able to pivot, which was amazing. We actually, for our Foodie February, were recognized by American Express. We won the Shop Small, Help Out Challenge. We were the first place in the country for our Foodie February promotion that annually sees about $30,000 to $40,000 in receipts turned in to us for people making the choice to dine downtown during the month of February. And they are rewarded then with, we do drawings for downtown restaurant gift cards. The In-Town magazine, which I think everyone's familiar with, that actually is, I think, the one thing that's on this list, other than Lagniappe and sidewalk sales, that predates me. And probably Stuart. We've been doing that one since around 1994. It goes out to 43,000 homes in Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Oakland Township. It is not by income, but by household, so it goes everywhere. It lists all of our events. We do it twice a year. We have this last issue that we just did, we had 31 different businesses advertised in it. We were able to feature over 100 businesses and restaurants in that publication as well as 11 nonprofits, and that's just for our last holiday issue. The Rochester Explorers Club is a partnership that we enjoy with our friends here at the City of Rochester. If you see it during the summer, it's the cutest darn thing that kids can complete activities. All of them are free to the kids to do, so it could be going cloud gazing or drawing a picture of your favorite pet, and you bring it back to one of these sponsoring Explorers stations downtown, which are all of the businesses. We hear from the businesses that they love this. It's a very small fee to participate, and they say that they consistently see new people every year coming in saying, I didn't even know you were here. The Magical Mural Tour, which also came out of COVID, that is where you see art downtown. They're 4-foot by 8-foot sheets of plywood that just pop up during the months of September through mid-October. We have some in the park during Art and Apples, and then throughout downtown. It's another way that we like to surprise and delight our visitors with just popping up a little art, which you'll be hearing more from the DDA about art in the months to come, because we've got a few things popping over there. The Snowman Stroll, which is a recent addition to the Big Bright Light Show, doubling down on our commitment to art in our community. They are 12 snowmen. They are 5-foot fiberglass snowmen that are on the corners of Main Street during the Big Bright Light Show. They go out right after Thanksgiving. They've been wildly popular. People love taking photos with them, and it's another way that we can support artists in our community. I'd also mention that last year's Snowman Stroll, not until we actually started putting everything together, was all artists were female last year. Not sure how that happened, but here we are. Our holiday gift certificate buy one, get one promotion. This started during COVID with Consumers Energy. We've had partners over the years, and this past year it was sponsored exclusively between the DDA and the PSD. The Holiday Gift Certificate BOGO, if anyone is not familiar with that one, we do that usually around the second week of December. People start lining up outside our doors at 11 in the morning, and we don't put them on sale until 5 p.m. We do a match, so it's buy one $50 certificate, get one $50 certificate, up to 2 per person. So any single person can buy 100, get 100. So we sell $30,000 in certificates that night. That all goes right back down into the downtown businesses. And it's not just retailers. One of our biggest redeemers lately has been Firestone, for people going over there and getting their oil changed and buying tires. They come in with stacks. It's super fun. Our overall holiday gift certificate program, which is also under the PSD umbrella, we sell over $100,000 in gift certificates a year, which has gone up substantially since COVID, when the DDA relocated to Main Street with the Downtown Collaboration Studio. Through our social media channels, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on TikTok. I don't talk about TikTok because I'm not a millennial. I have people for that, but I'm happy to talk about our Facebook and our Instagram. We have over 45,000 people on our Facebook page alone. On our Instagram, we're around 18,000, and our media engagement is off the charts, including our latest edition, the Love Local Rochester brand, which we introduced also during COVID, and that group has over 18,000 people and growing. Through a grant from Main Street Oakland County, we were able to start our downtown texting service. So we have over 2,000 people on our texting service. We text them all of our events that are happening downtown, trying to get them to come downtown. And it's super fun when they actually respond to us because it actually comes onto Jenna's phone and we really get a kick out of it. Our business directory, which we produce annually, which includes all businesses in the district, and then our website, which also has our shop. It has all of our required information for DDA and PSD, our shopping guide, all of our events, our news, our special projects like the market and the grant. So those are the things where we're not eventing. That's the other stuff that we do too, in addition to all the projects that we do in partnership with the DDA. So for the assessment proposals, I know there's been a little bit of confusion because the notice went out at one thing and we've had discussions about another and council had asked for something else. So in summary, the original 2 weeks ago when we came forward, we were asking for a 2-year assessment. And we were looking for a 4% inflationary increase, which we just heard the inflation was actually higher than that from the assessor's office. But we were asking for a 4% increase for year 1 and 2. When we met with council, they suggested that that was not something they were excited for and would like us to come back with a 0 increase budget and what that might look like. In the meantime, we, of course, with PSD, DDA is our other half, and our chairman, Ben Gianelli, is here tonight, as well as chairperson of the PSD, Joe Lutz. So they can certainly pop in if I'm getting any of this wrong. But as we were building budgets on the DDA side with the Graham and talking about all the events and programming that was going to be happening there, the conversation turned to, well, staff cross charges are going to have to change because right now staff is being paid only 29% by the DDA for our events and marketing team. And we're going to be needing more of their time, and those programs are going to live at DDA because we want to capture the revenue from those programs to help offset the costs of building the market and the Graham. So we came up with a couple different ideas. So I'm going to show you both our proposal and then I'll also show you the council proposal that was requested. So here we go. So we're still looking for a 2-year assessment. The one where we decided to get a little bit creative, the proposal A that I'll show you, year 1, we're looking to decrease the PSD assessment by 5%, and year 2, there would be 0 increase. So we would just maintain the decrease going into the next year. Proposal B is exactly what council had asked for. It's a 0 increase for the next 2 years. So digging into the details on each of these, so for proposal A, this is a chart that Marcy over at the city was able to put together for me, so thank you, Marcy. So with the 5% reduction in the PSD in 26 and flat in 27, this would involve fully moving the current staff all over to the DDA side of the chart. Right now they are paying a percentage of. We were making the case that because there are a lot of other things happening at DDA, it's all economic development, we made a case for we could move it all over to DDA. By doing that, that gives us a net to the good of about $72,000. So we felt confident in the 5% reduction. We also feel confident in some of the concerns that we had with inflationary increases. We know, for instance, our lights come from overseas for the Big Bright Light Show. We have already been told there may be tariffs on those and we will have to shoulder those. We have no idea what they're going to be or if they're even going to be. So things like that and different inflationary things, that the tent that we used to rent for a certain price is now costing us a little bit more. So that was proposal A. Through this is moving all staff over to the DDA budget, moving the farmers market management to the DDA, both expense and revenue, since the market is a part of the big Graham project. And then finally, all activities and events at the Graham are going to be managed by the DDA. That's also on the expense and revenue side. So the PSD would not be shouldering any of the costs for any new programming that's happening at the Graham other than what is currently programmed or any future programs that would be living in the PSD side of the budget. Now for proposal B, which is the flat, this is not moving any staff over. This is maintaining the current cross-charge rate, which I mentioned is at 29% for both Jen and Taylor and 23% for myself. Taking that and then not changing anything else, that puts us into a negative $64,000. So tonight, so let me go a little further. This still includes moving the farmer's market management to the DDA. That isn't going to change in either plan because it just makes sense since the DDA is managing that whole area now, the farmer's market, both revenue expenditure should move over to the DDA, especially since the Graham is gonna have an interior farmer's market. So it doesn't make sense for it to be on two sides of the ledger. And then all activities and at the Graham are still gonna be managed by the DDA. So that will not change with this proposal either. So for next steps for us tonight, we're looking for city council to take action on the assessment renewal. We are still asking for the 2 years. We understand that our first idea, our proposal A of doing with the DDA taking the full staff is unconventional, but we thought we'd take a shot and see what everybody thought of that. But we're looking for you to take action on the assessment renewal, whichever way you would choose to go. Once that happens, we're gonna go ahead and prepare our budget based on that renewal, and then we're already on the budget calendar, both the DDA and the PSD, to come present that budget based on the assessment renewal at your April 14th, city council meeting. So that's where we are, and any questions?
So first off, I'm going to say I'm exhausted and I have really high energy. Christy, I'm exhausted thinking about all the events and the activities that you just went through. But it was a good refresher and reminder to hear all of those together in that condensed presentation. So before we open the public hearing, I know council, we've had a lot of discussion on it. I might be exhausted on that topic too. But is there any other council questions at this time before we open the public hearing?
No, thank you for the review again. Thank you.
I tried to move it along as quickly as I
You
could, because
did,
there was a lot.
you did
Big agenda
excellent.
tonight.
Yeah, did a great job. That's good.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to open up the public hearing. It is 8:02. If you could please state your name for the record and address.
Stephen Winokur, representing Masonic Block Properties, 400 South Main and 404 South Main. Parcels 1514-101-009 and 1514-101-010, contiguous. Let me just first say that I am a really strong supporter of the PSD. Their activities have been phenomenal and always improving, and of the DDA. And Christy mentioned the COVID many times. I think we they were invaluable to get us all through that. The only reason I'm here tonight is because the letter I got announcing the public hearing also showed an estimated special assessment billing. And looking in the packet, and now I see that there's actually more to this, I looked at the packet, the 5% decrease. It didn't mention these other proposals. So my understanding, and from the letter, is that I needed to participate in the public hearing to protect my right of appeal. And just in case there is some inconsistency in my ultimate billing relative to your actions this evening or whenever, I wanted to protect that right. So if I could provide this to the clerk, would that be okay?
Yep.
The particulars
Yep,
are in here.
perfect. And we do have your letter that we received, so thank you, Stephen. And you are now on record.
Thank you.
Next, Bob, how you doing?
I'm well, how are you, Nancy?
Good.
Bob Justin, 280 Mill Street here in Rochester. We have two parcels on Mill Street, 280 and 92 Mill Street, that we're asking to be excluded from the principal shopping district because the buildings are not in the retail end. We do programming and other kinds of activities that really don't involve the public the way it's intended. Christie does a great job of getting people downtown to do retail shopping and retail activities, but that doesn't help our facility. So we're asking to be excluded. The parcels are 15-14-156-001 and parcel 15-14-155-017. And I'll approach the clerk and give her a copy of the request.
Thank you very much, Bob. Appreciate it.
If there's questions, I'll answer them. If not,
Anyone else for the public hearing? We can line up. Why not?
Good evening. My name is Greg Sweat. I own Classic Appreciation, and I'm at 81 Mill Street. And first of all, I appreciate and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to state this case. It's great to see all these friends and all these wonderful directors of City of Rochester that do such a great job, including DDA, do so much for the whole city. I appreciate it very much. I do, however, object to being on the PSD. It doesn't seem like Mill Street is a principal shopping district. There's no foot traffic, there's no shopping, nobody goes down there to shop, to buy things. And I also object to being taxed for the DDA, it was, or for the PSD. It was a kind of a surprise last year to get it, and then I understand that they had moved this along a few years ago and then maybe tabled it because of COVID or something like that. I didn't see the bills come through. And so it was a surprise last year. And I did submit a letter, and I was just objecting to that location being on principal shopping district. And that's my case.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
You do great work on
Yes, you do.
vehicles. Great work. I've had a couple over there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Pierre Atala. I own property interest in 610 North Main Street, 613 North Main Street, 543 North Main Street, 134 University Drive, 530 Pine Street. I'm here tonight to object to the proposed PSD special assessment against my properties. My properties do not specially benefit from PSD projects. By law, special assessments are a way of raising money to pay for improvements that do not benefit the whole town. Special assessments are to pay for a particular improvement to lands that do not benefit everybody, only few. You, as a city council, have chosen to enact a principal shopping district, not a business district. Medical patients are not shoppers. Healthcare providers are not merchants. And if you think we can pass increased assessments on to our patients, we cannot. The federal government and the insurance companies determine how much we can charge our patients. Therefore, I'm requesting here that all my medical spaces be removed from the PSD as a class of property not benefited by the principal shopping district. Next, I object to the fact that your system of apportionment of fees is faulty. Your calculations are based on total square footage and location, first floor, second floor, lower level, etc. Without regards to off-street location, without regard to residential dwellings, without regard to vacancy, and without regard to the special benefits to that property as the law requires. In closing, I also object to the secrecy of the PSD meetings. They are not publicized on the city website or televised, no webcasts. We have no idea what project the PSD has in mind to justify continuing assessments, other than the BB light that never made it on our properties or even north of University. The principal shopping district exists to promote the interest of the merchants in our town. But as it is, it feeds off the assessment levied against the professionals and service professional unjustly. the principal shopping district has never put on a project that specifically benefited any of my properties. The PSD have expressed no intention of doing so now. They do not even tell us what they plan to do next or why they need more money. For this reason, I request that all properties be deemed a class not benefited by the special assessment and object to the payment of any past or future PSD special assessments. I need to add, because I saw the presentation of Christie tonight, that all these are really DDA issues, by and large. They're not really, there is confusion what it is. We just heard there is no meeting. I went through all the website, all, the DDA, as well as the city of Rochester. And it doesn't talk anything about PSD. I went to the agendas. There's no agenda for the PSD. There's no meeting for the PSD. How can we know? And like I said, my issue here is mostly for our medical. Our medical does not benefit from all what you're doing. This is, like you saw the events, shopping for people, tenants that are in the shopping business, but the medical business does not get affected by that at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Atala. Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Council. Tonight, regarding this with the DDA, I want to say that I think it's a great idea to actually move all the administrative costs back to the DDA from where it was. I think that's very smart. I also believe that Mill Street does not belong in the PSD, but that's just my personal opinion. And anyhow, I hope that you make a good decision on that, and I know that what the DDA has done has been really good, and I hope they continue bringing, people to downtown with their events. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record,
Left-hand Peterson, 233 North.
thank you. Gotta be fair to everybody.
Paul Haig. I live in town, I have a house in town, and I have a business in town. The DDA and the PSD has enhanced all the property values, not commercial and commercial. It has enhanced the whole town. It's made, I'll say, patients come from different places to come here, because it's an easy place to do business, and it's an easy place to get in. So I support the PSD assessment, and I support the DDA tremendously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Ben Giovanelli, 831 Aspen, Chairman of the Rochester Downtown Development Authority. Tony LaPuma, Vice Chair, and myself are here this evening, and Paul, of course, in support of our friends at the PSD. The PSD and the DDA are two separate entities, but work hand in hand. And as I was sitting there, with all due respect to Dr. Atala, I pulled up on the DDA's website, and literally all the meeting minutes are there, all of the agendas are there, the dates, everything's there. So I just wanted to make sure that we corrected that for the record. With respect to the PSD and the DDA working together, the DDA sort of serves at a 50,000-foot level. Our job is to create demand for properties. So for those properties that don't have true retail coming in, or those mixed units like Dr. Atala's places, there's restaurants in there, there's all kinds of shops, and the PSD and the DDA together are driving traffic. There's a reason why there's almost 100% occupancy in downtown. It's because of this promotion, this constant promotion. So it happens on both ends. So the DDA is investing in capital and making this a place to come to. Every single business benefits from this, whether they think they do or not. I would just encourage those that may want to look at this a little bit differently. The city of Birmingham, for example, does not have a DDA. The property owners in Birmingham, they pay their taxes to the general fund, and it just goes out into the ether. But they also have a PSD that charges them for garbage and everything else, and it's almost 2 times what PSD is assessed here. So it could be a lot worse. The fact that we have a DDA is really a blessing for those in this community, especially the property owners, because if it was not for these events and this kind of effort, the demand for your buildings potentially would be lower. Certainly you'd have to engage a lot more marketing on your own to drive your own traffic. So this is what goes on behind the scenes between the PSD and the DDA. So just with that, we're here tonight just to share our love for the community and let you guys know that we stand ready to support and backfill whatever decision that you guys make with respect to that. Up until 2017, the promo staff was on DDA's payroll. It got broken off. We're happy to take it back. And you know me, I'm all one for all kinds of creative financing opportunities. So we're ready to help any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Anyone else here in council chambers for public comment? Brian, do we have any callers on the line for public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. There looks like there are no callers.
Thank you. And City Clerk, have we covered all the letters, correspondence we received?
Actually, no, Your Honor. We did receive 4 letters, and just real quick, I'll go ahead and put them all on the record. So we heard from Stephen Winokur. His addresses are the Masonic Block properties at 400, 402, 404 South Main, along with 103, 109, 111, and 115 East 4th Street. And he provided that same letter this evening. We also heard from Mr. Sweat, his property at 81 Mill Street. And then there were 2 in your packet that we received last Thursday. Both of them are from Mr. Daniel Eastman of Gary's Collision for the properties at 93 Mill Street and 97 Mill Street.
Thank you. Any other public comments? No. I am going to close the public hearing at 8:17. Public hearing is now closed. So thank you for all of those public comments regarding the PSD assessment. So council, now it's back to us. The action that we have for tonight is we have a public hearing regarding the assessment. So to set the assessment so that then we can continue on in our budgeting process regarding how much money does the PSD have, how much money does the DDA have, and kind of complete our final phase of the budget. Council?
Who's going first? I usually do.
Councilmember Trent, I can tell you just want to go.
I'm usually the one they put out front, so here goes. Yes, I do truly appreciate the downtown's vibrancy and the PSD and the DDA. This one was kind of a difficult one because it kind of went back and forth. It was, 4%, then 0, then -5. But when the connection of to delete or reduce, not delete, but reduce the PSD assessment by 5%, you have to move the, like I said, all the cost of the staff, the admin staff. So I think that because that the staff does work for the PSD, then it needs to stay as is, in my opinion. But my other thought, I'll put on my 12-year hat, or whenever the PSD was created, I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine, and I'm going to say what I said then. The Big Bright Light Show is expensive. It is the one sacred cow that the city council and the PSD and the DDA want to have. There is nothing, they're not saying get rid of it, they never have. So my thought is to bring the Big Bright Light Show costs back into the DDA budget. It is business development, they've proved it year after year, and then zero it out. So I just said it, okay?
So you mean 0 on the assessment? So
Zero,
flat
just
assessment,
flat
0,
assessment.
0.
Yes.
2 years, 0, 0.
2 years, 0, 0, and just, call out the elephant in the room. It is inordinately expensive, but it is extraordinarily beneficial. So that's what I'm saying.
Council? Counselor Jones?
So kind of building off of what Marilyn said, and I too wish it hadn't rolled out the way it did, where the 4% went out to the businesses, and then we indicated 0, and then all of a sudden, we see in the presentation 5 as a decrease. So that, I think, was hard as a council, and we spent a lot of time over the weekend all talking around trying to figure it out. I guess with your words, Ben, the creative financing is what bothers me about this. So, you know, if the PSD is unable to, you know, have the revenues and the expenses don't line up, so you're in a deficit that I don't understand giving 5% back or to decrease it 5% when you're in a position where you're in a deficit. So that was troubling me as far as just balancing the books. And then I agree with Marilyn that I know there would be a cross-charge if it, you know, if they went over to the DDA, there'd be a substantial cross-charge because most of what they're doing is PSD. So that all doesn't make sense to me either. And I know eventually once the GRAM is up and running, there certainly will be more time at the GRAM, but right now it sounds like the GRAM, we're not exact when that's all going to be done. So to me, that's something we could revisit once it's done. And if we see, boy, they are spending more time at the GRAM than they are in the PSD, then that's something that has to be looked at. But right now, with that just a future plan, I agree with, I guess it was option B, with the no increase and not moving over the staffing.
0-0.
Yeah.
Got it. Counselor Sage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did not vote for the increase last year, the large increase that was requested by the PSD. So I would be very comfortable in the leveling out the 0-0. What I'm cautious of is we took a long time to actually separate the DDA and the PSD. So I kind of don't want to start a trend now where I bleed back in. We kept them separate for a reason, and I want to maintain that. So that would be my position.
So lots of discussion on the 2 items, but really tonight, we're really making a decision on the 1, the assessment. And there will be a second discussion on, but I know council wanted that transparency on the other elements of the budget. So any other discussion or any motion regarding the assessment?
I guess I will motion to. It's your turn. It's my turn.
You're the PSD
I am the
liaison. This
liaison.
is perfect.
Yeah. Motion for option B, is that how I should say it, or I need to say the whole, what option B is?
I would, yeah.
If you could, please.
I'm going to try and piece it together because it's not up there. So option B would be to have a 0 increase in assessment for this year and next year. Are we doing the 2 years? And I guess that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, motion by Jones,
Support.
support by Sage. Any other discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'd just like to add also, as I also voted against the 25% increase last year. I thought that was too much. I'm okay with the 0-0, but I do think we need to keep them separate. We worked on that. These are separate organizations. And I also am not a big fan of the creative financing comments. So that's it.
City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you, DDA, PSD. There's been a lot of discussion on this topic. It's all because we love our city. We love Rochester. So I'd just like to thank everyone for all of their energy around this. All right, moving on to legislative deliberation. We've got some more deliberation to have. So we've got 2 ordinances to consider. We've got item A is consideration of an amendment, section 8.9, feeding of animals. This is a first reading and introduction. So in layman's terms, council, that means we have potentially 2 opportunities at this one. So city attorney, are you taking point on this? Thank you.
Yes, we
before City Council today is a draft. I finally forget that. I always get him. So, microphone issue. All
Got
right,
it.
so before City Council is a ordinance amendment, which adds a section 8.9, which pertains to the feeding of animals. The discussion initiated as a result of a cat issue that everyone's aware of. And so one of the things that we were looking at is how to help stem this issue, and the feeding of animals was one way that was explored. So back in September, City Council reviewed a draft ordinance amendment, which had a number of regulations. You can't feed wild animals except for birds and a bird feeder, and that type of thing, to help discourage all wild animals, but at least the feral dogs, cats especially. There was a lot of discussion as to whether it went too far, whether it was too tight, whether it was too loose. But in the end, it was decided to, the City Council considered a presentation regarding a trap, neuter, and release program. And so City Council back in September decided to put a pause on the ordinance amendment component of it, and decided to move forward with the trap, neuter, and release program. And in fact, established a cat committee to pursue and to proceed. So obviously, there was not a whole lot of trapping going in the middle of winter, because that would be inhumane. But now, as the cats are coming back out and the warmer weather, those discussions have occurred, and trapping will resume, I've been told, shortly. The committee also has met and reviewed the ordinance amendment for City Council. This is a slightly revised. It does still preclude unlawful ground feeding of wild animals. It does have an exception, of course, of feeding wild birds by way of elevated bird feeders. And also, so the provisions are in there. That's the whole point of this, adding on to the ordinance that's existing. So if there's any questions, happy to field those. So this would also allow, when we say unapproved feeding, this would allow, if the city has a animal control program, that whatever steps are deemed necessary for that program, whether it's identified in singular feeding situations, that would not run afoul of the ordinances. So we're back here for first reading introduction. All ordinances require 2 readings, so if City Council wishes to move this forward, the requested action would be to move it for first reading and introduction. I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
So this has been reviewed and submitted to council through the city attorney by our CAT committee, which is comprised of Councilor Hauser, Councilor Trent, and Councilor King. Councilor King could not be here tonight, but she has sent in a comment. City Clerk, if you could read that, please.
I can, Your Honor. Thank you. From Councilmember King, good evening, members of council and community. I could not be present this evening, but wanted to provide an update on the Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Return, TNVR program that was piloted last fall in the Griggs Street area, as well as support for the ground feeding ordinance amendment. In partnership with 2 dedicated rescue groups, we successfully trapped, neutered, and vaccinated 9 adult cats and 17 kittens. Every single kitten was rehomed along with 1 adult cat, marking a significant step in our ongoing effort to manage the stray cat population humanely and effectively. Building on this success, we are preparing to begin TNVR efforts this week in the Taylor-Castell 4th Street area, which has been identified as the next large cat colony. We already have appointments scheduled for 10 cats, and to the extent possible, we will work to find homes for any adoptable cats while ensuring a structured feeding program for those that are returned to the area. Experts, including our partners from rescue organizations with over 30 years of experience and the Humane Society, continue to affirm that TNVR is the most effective method for for managing and reducing the stray cat population. Unlike trap and remove strategies, TNVR prevents the cycle of continuous reproduction while allowing fixed, vaccinated cats to remain in their territory, preventing new unaltered cats from moving in. In conjunction with these efforts, the Cat Committee is also proposing an ordinance amendment to restrict ground feeding. This measurement is aimed at deterring wild animals while designating appropriate feeders for our managed community cats. By implementing this amendment, we can help ensure that food is available for the cats in a controlled manner while minimizing attractants for other wildlife. I encourage the council and community members to continue supporting TNVR as a humane and evidence-based approach to managing our stray cat population. Together with responsible feeding practices and targeted intervention, we can create a healthier and more sustainable environment for both our residents and our community animals. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think as we consider this, I think all of our understanding that the TNVR program would be considered, what would be continued. So what we can call our pilot, that will, of course, continue, especially here in this spring. Any other comments from I'll call on the CAT committee first, possibly?
Sure. Do you want to go first, Marilyn?
No,
Okay.
you go ahead,
And
Christian.
thank you,
Yep.
Madam Mayor. So this is something that we have discussed for many, many months now, back in the fall, over the winter, and we've heard from many residents, particularly those over on the Fourth and Taylor areas. And I appreciate there are multiple sides to this position, and there's multiple sides to try and handle it. But what we have done as council, in particular the CAT committee, as I would call it, is try and find a balance between what can we do humanely to make sure that these cats aren't, dealt with irresponsibly, frankly, and more importantly, to address that the issues that these residents have been having with the destruction and damage to their property are also are respected. So we have to balance those two. And I think that listening to the individuals from the outside CAT group giving us guidance and us taking that guidance and bringing it here before us is a good first step. And this ordinance that is before the council today is nothing new. It's nothing that other cities haven't worked on. As the author, I spent a considerable time last fall going through other cities and coming up with ideas. And listen, I have no pride in authorship, and I'm not going to say I plagiarized directly, but I certainly borrowed extensively from other ordinances that were used in other cities that had very similar issues. And to my good friends on the council here who may think that this is an overreach or may think that this is unnecessary, I kindly disagree, okay? Because we do have prohibitions already regarding animals. I can't go feed the ducks outside by the park. Our ordinances preclude the number of and the amount of dogs and cats that we have in a household, in a dwelling. I don't know if people knew this, but you can't ride horses, mules, or ponies on sidewalks here in Rochester, okay? So this idea that this is something novel or new or is burdensome just doesn't exist. So I think that I would ask my colleagues to really consider what the goal is, and the goal is to treat and capture these cats and deal with this issue humanely and responsibly, and this ordinance helps us get there because we know this to be true because this is what that outside organization has recommended. That's
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I love nature, but I also know that you can't have it living in your backyard as a pet. So I don't agree. I do agree with no ground feeding of wildlife. I did look this up. There is no comprehensive state law against feeding wildlife through the DNR, but they advise no intentional feeding, of which this is what this ground feeding ordinance does. What it does is it helps prevent wildlife from becoming habituated to humans and reduces the risk of disease transmission. So they specifically advise don't intentionally feed wildlife. While we do have wildlife in Rochester, I'm not for trying to kill all the wildlife in Rochester, Just wanted to make that statement. We don't want headlines that we have no wildlife in Rochester anywhere ever. We are not that sterile. But as a legislative body, we're trying to create laws that protect the wildlife and the people who reside here and weigh that out, as Councilman Hauser has said, and he has worked extraordinarily hard on this, and he took it on, and I appreciate everything he's done. So it's up to each, so basically it's up to each city to set the laws that align with the DNR recommendations. In regards to feral cats, they are not deemed as wildlife. They are, even though feral, are domestic pets. So they are listed as domestic animals. So they are protected under state animal cruelty laws, which prohibit the killing or harming of these animals. These include feral cats. So therefore, intentionally killing a feral cat is illegal and can result in legal penalties. So therefore, that is why we worked with the humane way to handle this situation. And it is controversial, as I've known for years, and I didn't even know about TNR until about one of my clients told me about it about 6 or 7 years ago, who came to speak to us about this. Her name was Cheryl Phillips. So there are other deterrent activities that haven't been mentioned, which is you can implement this through motion-activated sprinklers, ultrasonic devices to discourage feral cats from entering your property. Just wanted to throw it out there. I'm sure I maybe get pushback, but I wanted to say that as well. And I do understand both sides of the equation. I understand that we have different points of view, and some people go, oh, isn't that a cute little kitty? And then the cat, maybe other people are like, get this out of here. And that's how community learns to live with each other, to understand those points of view. So what has happened, which is really beyond my expectations on Grigg Streets, was that there were 8 adult cats, 7 females and 1 male have been trapped and neutered and returned, and 17 kittens have been adopted into loving homes through the Tiger Lily Cat Rescue. So having said that, I wanted to also thank Chief Sizzlick, the police department, Kristen from Tiger Lily Cat Rescue, and the approved feeders on Grigg Street, and want to it is an inordinate amount of work, and it takes a lot of compassion and love to actually, care for these cats. So no, it's not a motion yet. Am I supposed to make one? Or are you?
Well, I don't know if anyone else wants to have a comment.
Yes.
Counselor Sage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think the neat thing was, by even the admission from someone on the CCC, that in one
Which
neighborhood.
is the cat committee in
Correct.
code, okay.
Community Cat Committee, yes. That there was a success story, right? TNVR worked actually in Grigg Street in that area. And it also got agreement then from the neighbors on where you could literally, which house would be designated as a feeding location, et cetera. So there was cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like, without having to write an ordinance, try that in the other area. That would be my vote. I do not think we need to create a problem through this ordinance. Let's let neighbors be neighbors and figure this out, and we know TNVR works. So I would say give that a shot. And if, I will offer to mediate that in that area, if that's required.
Thank you, thank you. So from my standpoint, one of the things that I like about what's in this ordinance is the fact that the code officer can review and approve feeding and watering locations. That was important to me, that there was some way to have that happen. I am a owner of a rescue kitty. So my kitty was rescued from the coyotes up in Oakland Township. The siblings didn't make it. Our little kitty did. So I perhaps have a soft spot on this topic. Council, any other discussion or emotion?
I just do support, and I feel like, and I think Councilmember Hauser already said that, we have you cannot feed the waterfowl, and in my mind, so that's the ducks, or whatever waterfowl we have. This goes in the same bucket to me. There shouldn't be ground feeding. So I support this amendment, and I make a motion.
Sure.
Okay. I make a motion, where are
To
we
move
at
it
in
for
this? So we have
first
to do-
reading, move it for first reading and adoption.
Okay. I would like to move the,
Oh, wait, is it?
Oh,
It's a
okay.
public hearing,
I'll
right?
take the motion. This
Is
is
this
not
a
a public
public hearing?
hearing,
Oh,
and then
I'm sorry.
I will take public comment on
Okay,
this.
okay.
I'll make
So
sure we
I'll
get
go
public
ahead.
comment.
Okay, I'm making a motion for the ordinance to move to the first reading and introduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion
I
by
need a
Jones,
Second on that.
Support.
support by Hauser.
Yes.
I'll now take any public comment.
Okay, well, here's Pat Kane, 817 West 4th Street. So to further the TNR, trapping has already started. We were unsuccessful last night. And we were unsuccessful this morning, but we have 2 more days and we have 10 appointments we can fill, okay? So there is ongoing trapping right now. Even though it got cold again, we've been cleared to go ahead and do it. So I am in touch with Kristen and we are doing that. Now, the other good news on the TNR, which has worked, is that there's a reminder that these cats are vaccinated and everything, and they really are not feral. They are definitely domestic stock. They're homeless. But we have a duplicate number. So the number in our entire area, let's say Taylor, Fourth, Castell University, is a bit reduced. We only have 3 cats that need to be neutered or spayed. They look like they all need to be neutered. We have no pregnancies. That is very good news. And then there are 2 pets roaming, which are allowed to roam. And you'll see them out at certain times. So really, that is a very good outcome to date, and that's very good without the pregnancies. And very good that we are doing the trap right now, trapping. So wish us luck. The next thing is, on that ordinance, when I did read it, I did have a couple of points I did object to. And I'm gonna be real honest about it. I don't want anybody in this, to be limited and say, oh, your bird feeders have to be 4 feet off the ground. No, that shouldn't even be in there. As long as you're using a normal bird feeder, it's where you're going to be placing it. And if you're looking to try to dissuade your wildlife, almost all the wildlife in the area climbs trees. They climb higher than 4 feet. So we need to just not even reference that height thing. Also, don't reference on the water. People have water bowls and large dishes for mediation that are flat. People have ponds, it's flat. People have puddles or low areas. People have small rain gardens. People have barrels. When you say you have to put your water up only in a bird bath, it can easily be tipped. It is harder to work with because I know I scrub them and clean them and my big ones are difficult, but it doesn't matter. You can collect water when it rains in a certain area in your yard, and if an animal's gonna drink, it's going to drink. That, to me, shouldn't even be part of how you're going to have water on your property, if you wish. I have a bowl on my patio-like area that sits, it's a big cement bowl. It is on the patio. It has rocks in it. We also do butterflies and we do bees, and this is on the ground. It has water. So if we would just take that water thing out about the bird baths, and I would definitely tell you, bird feeders are fine. That's it. We don't have to get that specific because then at that point it is overreach. When we talk about not intentionally feeding wildlife, I will tell you something. Thank you, Councilmember Trent, for using the word, you don't want to kill all the animals in Rochester, because that sometimes is the consensus listening to some things. But I will tell you this, every garden in my area, anywhere in Rochester, every buried type of bush and viburnum, every apple tree and pear tree, and the people growing grapes and raspberries and blackberries, people that have flowers. Wildlife loves the flowers. Everything like that, including bushes. Your grass attracts wildlife at the right time, believe it or not. And your ground also can attract wildlife because of slugs. So everybody needs to be cognizant that, gosh, if you go on vacation and your neighbor didn't pick your stuff and it's going to attract wildlife, you can't sit there and go, it's not like it's intentional. We have people in our area that have apple trees, and they've had pear trees, and you're going to see wildlife, but you're going to see deer even feeding off it all the time. because it's not picked up so pristine and sterile that it's a non-clause, okay? It's just there. So I'm just going to tell you, all I'm asking right now is you look at the water piece. I don't think that is necessary at all. And please remember, when we had our drought and the high weather in the hundreds, 90s, the state, the DNR, and Oakland County put water out for wildlife. Wildlife's passing through, you put it out. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying they even will endorse it. But, you know, I have a water bowl. It's there. It's beautiful. It has a reflection in it. I do have water out there. People have ponds, and this is what I heard from the neighbors. Water barrels, these little tiny water garden dishes, and it should be allowed. So do not say it. I would just scratch that your water has to be up on a pedestal high. And you know what? If wildlife should be out there and they want it, they're going to climb. It's as simple as that. So good news on the cats. And if we could just take a look at those two, I do. That's
Thank
the
you.
only part I'm looking at.
Thank
Okay?
you. Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. We have another public comment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ann Peterson, 233 North Alice. So, a couple things. I know this is probably old in this, in the ordinance, but can you tell me exactly what it means if an animal shall, and any animal which shall be loud or frequent or habitual barking, yelping, or howling, or, go over to where it says the next line, or to people passing on the streets. How are you going to control that for a dog that barks at people walking past on the street? Just asking.
Yeah, so that has been in the ordinance.
No,
It's
I know
not,
it
it's not a
has
red
been.
line.
I know it
Okay.
has been, but I'm wondering, what is the definition if a dog barks every time somebody walks by?
That's a good point.
Okay, so I'm just saying.
Got it.
Also, I would like to know, and I know this is really old, but why is the word molest in there? What does an animal do to molest something else? Based on the definition of molest, I think that should be looked at. And then I will actually agree that having a water bath out there for the birds, deer drink out of it, squirrels are on it, they all get into it, and it is above the ground. I have one that stands up, mine gets knocked over all the time from the animals. The squirrels like to climb anything to eat anything in this town. If we could actually, you know, capture all the squirrels and maybe move them to Rochester Hills, it'd probably help a lot, okay? They are my pet peeve, especially when it comes to the birds. But anyhow, second, the sanitation, we talk about the sanitation of these pets and everything else and the wild animals, but we still have people who walk in the cemetery with their dogs off the leash. We still have people that do not pick up after their animals that are actual pets, okay? So now we're talking about the wild animals here. So I think we need to put the two and two together and make it a little bit better and stronger for everybody concerned. Let's see. Oh, and then regarding the ground feeding. So am I not allowed to plant a garden in my yard, or does it have to be a raised bed?
No, oh, no.
Well, I know, but this says no feeding, fruits, vegetables, and everything. But if I grow strawberries, they're on the ground, and there's rabbits here in town. This is where I have to say, Councilmember Sage, thank you so much for saying that we should actually just try DNR before we start doing, or the TNR before we start doing this again. Because there's too many things in here that we can't control. We can't control half of this with the animals in the city. And I can tell you that just from squirrels. So I think it's a bad ordinance right now to put out there without taking care of some of the other things that became the main issue at the very beginning. And then I think there was one more note here. Oh, and then do we actually have, not to be sarcastic, but do we actually have some pictures of the destruction that these animals have made that has caused an issue? Because I would like to see the destruction that any of these animals has caused. This is what that was actually spoken of. And so the destruction of properties and things by these animals.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
I wasn't finished.
Oh, okay.
sorry.
I thought you said that was one more thing.
No, that was one more thing, just came out of it. And then, I'm just, you know what, if we take care of the cats right now, then maybe, we can't get rid of them all. We actually need them, so we don't end up with rats and things like that, so, like other communities. Clear? No?
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments tonight on this topic? We're in the public hearing on this. Actually, it's not a public hearing, public comment. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any revisions to that motion? Counselor Trent?
Right, I just want to confirm that we did take out indirect feeding, which, I mean, what they're saying here, the is being specific.
Specifically.
Specifically, it was pointed out, fruits, berries, grain, vegetables. Now, whether or not, I wouldn't think that it needed to be there, but we negotiated and we kept it in, but it's on purpose. It's all on purpose. It's not it's not indirect. And that's what my understanding was. If, berries fall off of a tree, or, your strawberries are on the ground, or you grow some things in your garden, then you're not going to get fined for this.
Maybe what I would suggest is we ask the counselor, sir, you heard the comments about the strawberries. Would that be a violation of this ordinance?
No, it wouldn't. This is a feeding them, not just they happen to eat something I've grown, and we did remove the indirect, before it was directly or indirectly, so that was removed. And also the 48 inches that one of the citizens mentioned, there is no requirement any longer for 48 inches off the ground. That's not in this version. And I would also indicate that there's a comment made about cats are free to wander about the city, and that's actually not true. That's prohibited. People can't let their cats roam about the city. That's, dogs and cats have to be maintained under reasonable control at all times. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those items.
Thank you. Counselor Trent?
Just to add on to the question, I did question the water left unattended or attended. I had some concerns about that. I don't know how it works that if there is some water in a lower bird bath, I guess I do wonder about the water issue. Some people do have water for their dogs outside. I know Councilman Hauser said that shouldn't be, but when they are on a walk, they have it outdoors, not in the house. Is there like a fine that's going to happen? Like somebody says you've got your water out here on your back porch, which is your private property, and you can get a fine. And what is the fine? What happens? Who tickets you? Who turns you in? I just want to know specifically how it all would work in real life.
As it currently reads, and this is up to City Council, it says the unlawful feeding of feral or stray cats and dogs. That's what we're talking about. Having it says it's unlawful to feed any feral or stray cat or dog by any means, including hand feeding, setting out food or water. Having your own dog dish of water on your porch is not feeding of a feral dog or a cat.
I see.
So the previous version didn't have the specific carve-out for allowing elevated bird baths. We did add that in there because there was a concern about birds.
Okay, well then, that's a good explanation then.
We wouldn't, the city code compliant would not issue a ticket for someone who grew strawberries in their yard and a rabbit ate them. I'm just gonna, at some point.
Yeah. I just needed you to say that.
If you want to put that in the minutes, I'm happy to have that
Thank you.
verbatim in the minutes, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then.
All right.
I'm good.
Any other comments? One last public comment before we take a roll call. We have a motion and a second.
I'm concerned about bird baths, bird bowls. So then you're going to prohibit the ponds, the little pools,
No.
the.
No.
No.
Okay, so my bird dishes, and you can call them bird dishes, they're big stone, they're on the ground, they're made for the ground. So are you going to prohibit me from having those that I've had for years? They serve a purpose. What about the people that have ponds? We're not talking we're talking ponds, little tiny ponds. Ponds they dig in with the little plastic liners and containers. Those would have to be prohibited. That's on the ground. So how do you make a distinction then? That's a little bit confusing. That's why that should not be.
Is that your public comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like an explanation, because it shouldn't be in there. That's prohibiting. You can't just say, the only water you can have is a bird
Okay,
bath.
so we're having public comment, not public discussion. So I hear your public comment, and I will ask the city attorney the interpretation of if this were passed and someone had a pond in their yard, how would that be viewed?
At the risk of sounding more than I am, there's a common sense element to this that the city is going to apply. This does not restrict water to bird baths. The language is the prohibition against feeding and watering does not preclude having water in an elevated bird bath. It doesn't require water to be, there would be no, the city would never issue a ticket because someone has a koi pond that a squirrel happened to drink out of. I mean, there's a common sense element to this that.
But they'd issue a ticket for a bird bath that's made to be on the ground. That's what I'm trying to clarify. So the big stone pieces that are on the ground filled with water, which I call a bird bath, you would be ticketed for having, even though you've had it for years now because of this new, people have them. Some people have bigger ones, like meditation water bowls. People have them for butterflies and bees. That's water. That's why that needs to come out. If not, I mean, it's going to be a mess. Or do I have to be inspected? Gosh knows I've had enough inspections with this city, and I've passed every one of them. So what are you going to do? Or how do you explain this? Gonna ban it? You can't say you could only have an elevated bird bath for birds or squirrels to drink or whatever. But you're allowed all the water on the ground for everybody to drink, which attracts more because of green plants and everything else. So that, to save all the problems, that needs not to be in there. You don't mention the water. I think people use in Rochester how they decorate, what they use, very judiciously.
Thank you.
Okay, I won't open my mouth.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Yep.
The open water. So are we going to ban businesses from downtown from putting food and water out now too? Because they always do during the spring, summer months for random pets that walk by. So I think that's something that with this all comes out. I mean, we have Leader Dog too downtown. So what do we do with them with having water and things out there too? I mean, this is more than just personal. And honestly, the bird bath is, you can't stop anything that's wild from eating or drinking from anything, so.
Okay.
May I make one more comment,
Yep.
Madam Mayor? This provision that we're referring to, the caption is unlawful feeding of feral or stray dogs and cats. A water bowl downtown for someone's pet on a leash would not be prohibited. That's not a feral dog or cat that's being attended to.
Thank you. All right, City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. You know, the impetus of all this was the cat situation in Griggs and on Taylor. And so we had meetings, and I appreciate all the work that Triple C has done, the CAT committee has done. Oh, it sounds funny to say that. Triple C.
I know, it's fun.
So excited by saying that, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Triple C.
So the impetus.
We're getting T-shirts.
Yeah, the impetus was the cats on Taylor and the cats on Griggs. And then, so we came up with a plan to have this pilot program to have the catch and neuter and TNR. And we tried it in Griggs and supposedly it's successful. And so we're doing that, we're solving the problem, and that's good. Well, now we have this whole ordinance, and it's like, well, and maybe it doesn't work long-term, and we have to take a look at it, but to me, we have this ordinance, we have this plan, it seems to be working, we're moving forward, it's all good, and now we have an ordinance that has all these different things in it, and it just seems unnecessary to me at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
No.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Sage,
No.
Trent.
Yes.
Motion passes, and so we'll have more discussion on this again. Thank you. Moving on to item B, this is consideration of an amendment to the Chapter 20 Blight Ordinance, and this is also for a first reading and introduction. Counselor Hauser.
After discussing this internally, and obviously having some conversations, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to make a motion to table this. There's been some comments that we've received from residents, I think, pro and con. They've asked for some changes, so I think we'll take this back to the Blight Committee and tweak it a little bit more and bring it back in the next few weeks or so.
Thank
So
you.
I'd like to
we
make
have
a motion to table.
Motion to table?
Yep.
I'll second that.
Support by Trent. From my part, one thought that I have had on this, coming back into town after working remotely for a couple weeks and seeing downtown through fresh spring eyes, I am considering maybe we need to break this into commercial and residential, two separate ordinances. In the past, I was opposed to that. I thought it should be one for ease. But in looking around town, I know it's spring, but there are some things that need to be, we need to increase our Rochester politeness on more than just one property in downtown. So I know in the past, we've done walks, but there are some things that, we just had the assessor's report. We've got great property values in Rochester, so we got to keep them strong. City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. So Blight Committee,
We're back.
get
at
back
it.
to work.
Yep, we'll make a T-shirt for that, too.
Yeah, T-shirts for that one, too.
We'll be back, though.
All right, good. In the meantime, we do have Jeremy doing some ordinance and walks, so thank you.
Go, Jeremy.
So moving on to Section 9, Item A, this is the second addendum to the Dinosaur Hill Nature Preserve Community Garden Service Agreement. So I want to thank Counselor Trent. I know you've done a lot of work on this, but I believe City Attorney, you're going to take this one?
I can, unless Marcy would like to take this, but I can certainly.
There is Marcy,
take
too.
over.
She has done a lot on this as well.
I'll shoot it off here, see if we need it. So before you today is a second addendum to a services agreement with Dino Hill Nature Preserve. The original agreement between Dino Hill and the city goes back to 2012. And then subsequent that didn't have anything to do with the community garden. That was just the programming and care of the building and the grounds and so forth. Back in, there was a first addendum back in 2021, and that purpose was to have the community garden come under the guidance of Dino Hill as one of the scope of services. So that was in 2021. And so now there's been discussions about maybe an expanded scope of service and setting forth, because I think the idea was that both sides were kind of wanted to tighten it up a little bit as far as who is supposed to do what, and maybe things were let go for a little bit, and just kind of, it was a time to refresh and to kind of look at the relationship between the two parties when it pertains to the community garden. So the second addendum that you have here, again, only pertains to the community garden aspect of their scope of service. So a lot of it is the same as the first addendum. So the second addendum would get rid of the first addendum, replace it, but the underlying agreement back in 2012 would remain in place. So there's, as council can see, it sets forth Dinosaur Hill's obligations, the city's obligations, and then it has termination provisions. Specific as to the community garden aspect, the city and Dinosaur Hill can terminate that part of the scope of service and therefore the second addendum at a different cadence as the underlying agreement. So that being it was a 30-day written notice from either side that they don't want to continue with that portion of it. So I believe that there's been a lot of discussion with the city and also with Dinosaur Hill. In fact, the agreement in your packet bears the signature of the executive director, so that indicates that they are ready to proceed with the second addendum if the city council is. And unless I've missed anything, Marcy, I think we're ready to go.
I see a thumbs up from Marcy. Council, any actions you'd like to take on this? Counselor Trent?
I would just like to say that it will all be done online now. That is a new online component that makes it easy for both entities to a quicker and faster, like the internet does, online services of you can now apply online and pay.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it used to be a letter with a check last year, and it was a lot of work.
Welcome to 2025.
Right, and I know I had met with Emily Williams and volunteers a few weeks ago, and I was very pleased of the outcome, and that Emily committed to improved communications with all the gardeners that will be gardening there.
Great.
Yep.
Any motions regarding this agreement?
I will make a motion to approve this agreement with the city and Dinosaur Hill.
As presented, thank you.
As presented.
Motion by Trent.
Support.
Support by Jones. Discussion, seeing none. City Clerk?
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, I see Chief George approaching. Item B, consideration to approve the 2024 liquor inspection report in accordance with Chapter 4, Section 4-16 of the Rochester City Code.
Good evening,
Good to see you.
Mayor and Council. Yes, Mayor, that particular chapter and code, it refers to all of our on-premise Class C liquor establishments in town. And for those of you that do not know what a Class C is, it's basically a restaurant where you sit down and you serve beer, wine, mixed drinks or shots, things of that nature. Those are the Class Cs. We do have other establishments in town that just sell beer, wine, and liquor. That's off-premise, but this inspection only dealt with the 24 Class C establishments that we have in town. So what we look for when we go into these businesses is we make sure that they're in compliance with state and local codes, that they have the necessary permits that are basically attached to their liquor licenses. And when I say permits, like for instance, if you're selling a Class C establishment, they could sell beer and wine, out the door. They have to have an SDM, specially designated merchant. If they want to sell liquor on Sundays in there, they have a AM permit and they have a PM permit. So those are some of the permits that are attached to it. We also look for the general conditions of the building, make sure it's in good shape, and make sure their tax payments are paid on time and special assessment taxes are paid on time. And we also review all the number of police calls that go to these, they come in. We're concerned about calls that are in violation of law, any kind of nuisance type calls, and any type of calls that affect surrounding businesses. So this report, I spent a lot of time on it. It's very long. I did work in conjunction with the fire department. They were very helpful. And the bottom line is these 24 establishments, they're all doing a great job. The main thing is we want safe buildings for the patrons. We want safe buildings for the employees there, and also we want to make it safe for our first responders if we have to respond there. Basically, everybody's in compliance. There was only 5 businesses that owe back taxes and special assessment taxes. What I did was I was instructed to send letters to the business owners just to remind them that this could impact the renewal of their liquor license. So that's already been done. I've already received some phone calls on that. And also the fire department, there was 5 businesses that they had minor infractions that need to be re-inspected. So they're gonna stay on that. And just keep in mind that these inspections, this is an ongoing thing. We do decoy operations. We just did our 4th one last week, and we have a total of 35 liquor establishments in town here, and only 4 of them serve to minors, which is not bad. They just need a little bit more education. But for the most part, for the police calls that we receive in these bars, they're typical calls. There's nothing that we can't manage. A lot of the owners will meet with me and we'll discuss how we can improve their security, and everyone's been great in town here. So if you review the report, there's nothing of concern that I have, and if we had to talk about renewing liquor licenses, there's really no issue. I mean, I've dealt with bars in the past, not in this city, where we closed them down because it was just getting out of hand. We don't have that issue here in Rochester, so. Thank
you, Chief. Thank you for staying on it, staying engaged with the businesses and continuing to educate them, because it's important. It's important that they know that. The question that I have, and then Mayor Pro Tem, so if an entity, let's say the property owner, they're the one that would be delinquent on the taxes, but the restaurant has the liquor license, how does that impact them? You said it could eventually impact their ability to renew the license.
Well, I guess we're not in the business to take licenses away. We want to educate, and that's where we're at right now. But in respect to the delinquent taxes, you're right. That's on the property owner, not the owner of the business or the manager. That's on the property owner alone. In respect to if we had violent crimes in the bar, or if they didn't inspect their sprinkler system, you're supposed to get it inspected every 6 months, or their fire extinguishers, or they're blocking ingress, egress, exit signs don't work. That's gonna go on the business owner too. They have to comply with that. We give them, the fire department gives them ample opportunity to make the corrections. And for the most part, I mean, everyone's doing a pretty good job. We don't have anyone giving us any backlash on safety issues, things like that. But the issues that we found, they're all minor.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, Chief, thank you for this report. So, you know, there's one business here that sticks out, and it's, you know, massive, you know, large tax, not paying violations. When do we, in theory, pull their liquor license if they don't shape up? I mean, it's not like, you talk about education. I mean, you gotta pay your taxes. I mean, is that, do you need education on that? I mean, so, I mean, what's,
Yeah.
I don't know, the city manager, I mean, what's with this business?
Assuming that they will pay them. So we just put them on hold. I mean, we just put them on notice. So if they don't, then they are sticking in our face. Yeah, exactly. So they're not gonna.
So then maybe if we could have a report back to city council on that in maybe 60 days.
Yeah, 30 days.
Thank you.
Does that go to the county?
Yes.
Yep, it rolls to the county.
Yeah, they're all with the county right now. The special assessments can be paid to the city. The county taxes go to the county, so that's something I discussed with Marcy. It's not like the county's gonna call us right away and tell us. We'll probably have to call them and find out if they paid. And I think the bottom line is you give them, I already gave them one warning letter, we'll give them another one, and if they don't pay within a certain time.
It should be repercussion.
End of April, it's March 24th.
Nobody's never not paid once they get the notice so far.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
these are the
And
first
typically,
ones.
like, all the liquor licenses are to be renewed April of 25, so it's coming up. Yep, so, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Jones?
I just think I need to understand it a little bit more. So the tax, because you just said the building owner is responsible. What are these taxes for?
Property
Property
taxes.
Property
So
taxes.
property
And special
taxes.
assessment taxes.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think it makes sense that the police department's involved in that. I
Well-
guess that's what, is this, I mean, I'm sure you'd probably rather
Right, I
not be
just-
involved in that.
I'd rather not be involved in sending letters, but that's just the way it's been done. And
Okay.
However, I gave him a letter just, and I explained to him that, you know, under this code, or chapter that we're obligated to inspect, and this is what we found. So,
Even though
That's it.
you're going in, when you go in, so are you going in these businesses for that specific, I know the fire department goes
no,
in too.
I can go right online and check on taxes.
So this is just
and I spoke
an
with our
annual.
finance, and our finance department gave me some hard
Okay.
numbers too.
Okay.
And we can go online and find whether they're compliant or not compliant on certain things. I can check what licenses they have, what permits they have, and, yeah.
And it's kind of tied in with the liquor license then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I see, okay.
And I made
Counselor
a
Trent?
cheat sheet, I didn't give it to you yet, but I have a cheat sheet. If you read it, you'll know every single business in town, what kind of license, what kind of permit, what each license means, and what, like Endo and like Pfizer, I didn't know they have liquor licenses for limited alcohol purchase, for experimental purposes.
Really?
For the research. I didn't know that, that's, but we have
Maybe
two.
we do a little research.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, but the cheat sheet will have all that, you can have, if you want a copy, I'll email it.
I think all of council would like that, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's pretty interesting,
Yeah,
actually.
just go.
Yeah, Counselor Trent?
This may be a dumb question, but the business owners aren't listed here, their tenants are. Is that,
The property owners are not listed.
right, the property,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
The
sorry.
liquor
the
license
Yeah,
owner is listed.
Right, but the
And they can be
property,
separate, or they
Oh.
can be the same.
oh, okay.
the names that you see on the report, those are like the agents that are linked to the liquor license. The finance department has the names of the
Property owners, okay.
That's where the
Yeah,
letter went to,
okay,
the
all
property
right.
owners.
That, that was what I wanted to understand, thank you.
And I just give a brief history is they started looking at the taxes during the recession to kind of see where people were and, you know, could we help people out and stuff, but it's not a recession. So it's not right now.
No. We look forward to seeing a report in less than 30 days on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Yeah, and I'll just supplement what Mayor Pro Tem just said. In fact, there was a stretch of time where some of the properties were delinquent, and the city ended up entering into repayment agreements. It went that far to try to work out, so they were addressing the tax issues, but it wasn't heavy-handed. It was trying to help them out and work out a payment plan, so there is some history there for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief George.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the report. Moving on to item C. So do we cover C and D together? City Clerk, this is proposal to change precinct boundaries.
There's separate resolutions for
Okay.
each one. I'll be quick about both of them, really.
This
pretty
is
simple.
good stuff. Thank you for doing all this work on it. It looks like you're improving things, saving us money in the future, and continuing to make it easy for people to vote.
Yep, thank you. I'll just briefly give you as a review. You have seen me up here many times in the last couple of years. 2018 and 2022, there were proposals that were passed that really were massive changes to the way voting happens in the state. Mainly with the no reason absentee ballots. That means anybody can get an absentee ballot 40 days before the election. They have to be available starting then. It created a permanent ballot list where people can ask to automatically have their ballot mailed to them. We have currently 3,000 people that are on our list that will automatically be mailed those ballots. So that's a big change for you guys as running, because this will be the first time that that'll be in place. You guys can get that list anytime you want. But those ballots will automatically go out 40 days before the election. And then, of course, the early voting, which we have been active with, and it has really changed the voting behavior. So what I'll go through, Brian has shared his screen up here. We'll go through this real quick. Currently, precincts have to comply with a limit of 2,999 active voters per precinct. That's what we're at now. In 2024, the law was amended to increase the number of voters per precinct to 4,999. Again, because voter behavior is going away from election day, where you're funneling them all in the same space. The next slide here, I gave you what our current active registered voter are in each precinct, and then the new total. So you can see all of those are going to be well below the 4,999, so it's going to allow for growth with Nick's new projects and such. Next slide is the cost savings. By reducing the number of precincts from 6 to 3, we're going to save on 3 tabulators. That $6,000 cost was from 2017. So when they go out to get new equipment, probably next year, I expect that that's probably going to be higher. We'll have to have less election workers, half as many. The cost of supplies, again, half as many. Time and energy of staff, Brian and I have to set up 3 less places, 3 less machines to test. And then, of course, overtime for DPW, because they're the ones that go over and set up at Community House and the other locations. So what I'm asking for council this evening is that you adopt the resolution, which would realign and give the the boundary descriptions for the new precincts, 1, 2, and 3. And it also adopts the new map that would also affect that change. That concludes that item. If there's any questions or a motion to approve or adopt that resolution.
Thank you. So the map is on the screen that shows that would be our 3 precincts. 1, 2, 3. Counselor Hauser.
Just a quick question.
Election worker.
Election official, yeah, I vote myself out of a job here. So, with respect to the precinct number 1, it says municipal building. Would it be here or would it be at Community House?
So that is our next item. I
Okay.
want to change polling locations.
Okay.
So
I'll hold off on that
good. Yep,
question. Thank you.
Counselor Trent?
I'll make a motion to approve the new precinct boundaries and as presented, a resolution for that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Counselor Hauser?
I'll support.
Support. Any other discussion? City Clerk, the roll call.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll continue on with the polling locations change. I'm recommending that we move new precinct 1 from the community house to here in council chambers. We have proved with early voting that this is a very viable polling location, and it really doesn't make sense to break this down just to set it up over at a community house. We aren't asking the voters to travel a very long distance, so for those reasons, I would like to go ahead and make that change. The other change is the same with OPC. They're gonna only have a very small amount of voters, so we'll move them over to St. Paul's because we're combining 2 and 4 that are over there now, so it will be the new precinct 2, and we'll move in precinct 3, which is 5 and 6, and they'll share the other half of that room just like it is set up now. So
Set up for 2 precincts.
correct. So, and I provided you guys some election turnout numbers for our most recent municipal election, which was probably the highest that we have ever experienced, mainly driven by the cannabis proposal. But that gives you a good gauge of how many people will be going through those polling locations that day. And then the recent election turnout from last year, the November, 900 and 1,000, that's keeping the election workers pretty busy, but it's doable. And again, if you look at it in terms of anyone can vote 40 days before the election, and you're increasing the number of hours with the early voting from election day that would just be 13, you add those 72 hours and you're up to 85 hours of in-person voting that they'll be able to have. So if they choose to stand in line, then hopefully that behavior will move farther away from that also. So also this will have a cost savings as well because we're required to have 1 voter assist terminal is what it's called per polling location. And obviously if we only have 2 polling locations instead of 3, then we can save on 1 more machine. And with this, I'm going to recommend that the council still continue having their second meeting in October in this room. However, I'm going to ask that we talk with the Planning Commission and ask them to move their November election or their November meeting to the Wednesday after the election. And the reason the difference is council doesn't often have public hearings and we can guide those around that, whereas Planning Commission almost always has a public hearing. So to break down and set it up for the next day would be pretty difficult. And 2 days, again, isn't that much of an imposition, I don't think. So again, same thing. I'm asking that you adopt the resolution that would abolish the polling locations at the Community House and the Older Persons Commission, and move Precinct 1 here to the Municipal Building. Have 2 remain at St. Paul's, and then new Precinct 3 at St. Paul's, and then, of course, we'll continue the early voting site here in council chambers as well. And that concludes that report.
Thank you. So how do voters know about these changes if we approve these?
So part of this, the next steps after this approval is I notify the county notifies the Secretary of State. They make the changes on the qualified voter file with all the correct precincts. And then I have to mail a voter ID card to everyone that has a change. So this is pretty much going to be citywide. The only people that wouldn't necessarily have to get one would be precinct 2. But by the time you're sending out for everyone, then I get all the phone calls, why didn't I get one? So ID cards will go out citywide. I'm required to send them out 45 days before the first election that it affects. So if we have a primary, then they'll go out June 1st. If we don't have a primary, I'll send them out September 1st. That way they're getting the information right beforehand. There'll also be signage at OPC and at Community House directing people here. Might even look in having some A-frames at the entrances of some of those communities. But, you know, I think our communication plan with the early voting worked really well. And there was very few people that stood in line at the library and then came over here and vice versa. So I would do the same thing, utilize our newsletter as well.
Thank you. I so appreciate your experience on this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Hauser.
I'll make a motion again. I think it's a great idea to have a polling station here and then at St. Paul's.
Just one question on that.
Okay, motion by Hauser.
Oh, wait.
I'll support.
Support by Trent. Discussion. Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I just said there was somebody.
Yeah, I'll get the public comment.
Yep, thank you. Question, so why is precinct 3 going all the way over there when I
So,
just
yeah,
can't
so,
understand?
Brian, if you could put the precinct map back up. So
Yep.
precinct 3 would no longer exist. So
Correct.
precinct 1 and 3 will now be precinct 1. That'll be here.
Okay.
Precinct 2 and 4, they'll be combined and they'll vote at St. Paul's like they do. Precinct 5 and 6 will become the new precinct 3. So it's not the existing precinct 3.
It was just the wording
blue.
in there seemed,
The-
yeah, I looked at that, but the wording above it made it appear like it was 3 was going over there, and I'm thinking, why would you separate us from over here?
No.
Because I was looking at the numbers though,
Yeah,
too.
the purple is precinct 1 now. So what you're used to in precinct 3 will now be precinct 1.
Okay, so can you go to the slide up though from there if you could? The one that has the wording on it. Nope, next one. That's why I was confused reading that.
Okay.
Sorry. No, sorry, the next one. Right there, so it just, like precinct 3, it just seemed like it didn't correlate where it was actually going. You know what I mean? So it just seemed like it didn't say that it was going into that bucket. Never mind.
Okay.
It's just, I think it's just the way that was written up
Okay.
there, precinct 3, and then these are the new precincts over here.
Okay.
So, okay.
Are
All
you
right.
precinct 3 by chance, Ann?
What?
Are you precinct 3 by chance?
Yeah, I am.
That's what I
why-
thought. That's what I
was
thought.
like,
That's
it's
why.
like, why does that look so odd?
Yeah.
And then it looked odd reading that and then looking on the map, how it
Yep.
was. Okay.
Got it. Thank you. Any other discussion, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, but just,
That was answered, okay. City Clerk, the roll call, please.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, motion passes.
The work involved in all that.
All right, guys, this is an easy one. This is an easy one. Item E, consideration of a request to set a public hearing for our fiscal year budget ending June 30th, 2026. And so we're going to set our public hearing for April 28th, 2025.
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Support by Counselor Trent. No discussion. City Clerk, the roll call.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Put it in Sure. Okay, moving on to boards of, reports from various boards and commissions. We're going to start with the Cemetery Committee. Counselor Jones?
For the sake of time, since it's been a long meeting, basically, all our work right now is working on what we're doing for the 25th anniversary of the Revolutionary War, cleaning headstones, and kind of organizing what the event would be.
Excellent. Item B is the Rochester Community House. That's mine. We had Bob Kruger resign from the board, thanking Bob for many, many years of service to the Community House, and appointed Lynn Oates to the Community House Board. So it's good to have a longtime community member on the Community House Board. And of course, they're excited for their public hearing regarding the Community House at Planning Commission. Item C is the Paint Creek Trailways Commission. Counselor Sage, you've been busy with this one.
One item. We posted for the job for the trail manager and unfortunately didn't receive the quantity of, or quality of applications back. So we've reposted it on Indeed, LinkedIn, and M-Parks. And I think it's even on the city website. Unfortunately, we also found out that the executive assistant has also resigned. So
What's going on at Trailways?
It's a really great job. I think it's a really great job. Someone needs this job.
Yes, someone must.
yeah, I think we'll get,
I'll try.
we've already started to get some back in, so this is good. We will fill that.
Okay.
Good,
it's
good.
above.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Asset Management Committee. Hauser?
Sure. So on March 18th, we had our meeting, and I'm happy to report that we made significant progress and committed some time to discussing the curb and road work for the residents on the east side of the city. The committee wanted to make certain this was addressed as soon as possible, and to that end, the city engineer will be putting a proposal together that we will share with the residents in the area in question about the proposed work that we would like to do to address their concerns. There was further discussion regarding the parking decks, water main projects, and work on the DPW fuel sites.
Excellent.
Yes.
Covered it.
Okay.
And then we had a carryover from the last meeting, the OPEB board
did.
met, and you wanted to give us an update on that as
I wanted
well.
to supplement my report. So back on February 19th, 2025, we had a few issues that were brought up during that meeting. First was a presentation from Morgan Stanley to review the market update, fund performance analysis, and asset allocation. And I can represent to our current and former city employees that we are doing well in hitting our marks. Number two is we discussed and approved retaining outside legal counsel to help with Section 115 trust issues. And this involves the consideration of whether, if needed, the city could transfer funds to balance out shortfalls or overfunding between the trust and MERS. And then the third issue was we discussed and actually retained an actuarial service related to the valuation of calculations in the event the city was going to transfer over the funds from MERS to that 115 trust. So those are the three issues that we discussed at the February 19th, 2025 OPEB meeting.
Thank you. And I would just add for council, the output from those two actions would come before council.
That's correct.
Moving on to Budget and Finance Committee. So Counselor Trent, do you have this?
I do have this, yes.
I mean, we may have talked about a lot of it.
We've talked about a lot of it. Yeah, the Elizabeth Park Grant Review, the, yep. So we're going for a cemetery grant for cleaning and gates, new wrought iron gates. So we're going for a grant for that, for the cleaning of the gravestones, and partnership with the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Rochester Community Schools for the cleaning of the gravestones. So that would be a nice grant to get, especially for the gates. I would be excited to see that. We talked about the trail on Clinton River, trail that collapsed, and they're working on getting funds, so they're getting a combination of funds from the Wilson Trail Fund, the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation, and we're looking for more funds. So if anybody wants to donate, please do. We're going to have a big donate button on our website.
Well, there is a GoFundMe out there.
Is there already?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, we discussed having a
Yep.
GoFundMe.
It's out
Okay,
there.
so go to
It's out there.
GoFundMe.
I've shared it. I've shared it on public media.
Okay, well then that was it. So I will find that share button and I will share it on my social media channels as well.
Excellent.
that's
The last
it.
report is for Ra-Ra, so with Sarah not here, does anyone else have that, or should we push that? We'll
I
push
don't
that.
have a report, but I have something that
Wait,
Raya's doing.
there was a DDA report. Did you?
Back to Trent for DDA.
Did you not have enough of the DDA? They're doing great work. Okay, so the Market and Graham update is they don't have it yet for the cost of the renovation over there, but they will have it by the end of April. They discussed the PSD, as we already did discuss that here, so we don't need to review that. They also talked about some exciting new grant programming that was where they were spitballing or brainstorming, and they talked about having a Halloween makers market, a farm-to-table event at the new Graham, annual Graham fundraising event, and hands-on cooking classes. So that was kind of fun to think about. And then downtown, they did a survey for downtown places and spaces survey, and they had 2,300 participants.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it was about 40%, which is extremely high. People want things to do. Number 1, play. 2, bocce. 3, music. 4, picnic. 5, art. 5, 6, read. And just chill is number 7, and then I guess then number 8 was work. I don't know why wasn't work number 1, right? Play was number 1. All right, thank you. That was it.
Wonderful. City Clerk, anything else?
Yes, Your Honor, to remind everyone who hasn't turned in their petitions yet, that 4 weeks from tomorrow is the deadline, April 22nd, 4 p.m. If anybody needs to come after 5 or whatever, just call and we can make an appointment. That's all I have.
Wonderful. City Manager?
I'll keep nothing. Actually, in the manager's report, I've been trying to put more fun stuff that's day to day. I
like it.
Thank you. We love
I like
it.
sharing that.
We
So
love
it's-
it.
The highlight
it's
of
just a-
Friday.
It really, I'm
is.
really
I'll keep
enjoying
doing
it, so thank
No,
you.
no, I just look at my calendar and say, I think you need, so it's beautiful.
Perfect.
Good,
You
thank you.
don't mention the visits when I come to your office. I think you need to add those.
That's true.
City Attorney?
He did mention me in the report.
You made the
You
report.
got a call out. You got a
I
shout
want to feel special. I haven't been mentioned.
But nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to council, is there any other public comments tonight?
Oh, dear.
Thank you. Some good news, first of all, on some greening, and you've heard me before up here talking about greening. I have been contacted by some neighbors, and hopefully this summer, there will be 3 new certifications for backyard wildlife habitat, Taylor, 4th Street, and Castell. So we hope to see more planting and certification for that, and I will be assisting them with that.
Oh, okay,
And I think
good.
that's, they're looking forward to it for all the native planting and more flowers. Next,
Yay.
getting just back to that ordinance on the water. So the city of Rochester, current ordinance, if it applies, is going to tell the residents how they're going to contain water on their property for the possibility of a bird using it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have 2 heated big bird dishes. They're on the ground. They're made for the ground because they are stable and because of the wire you have to use appropriately to keep it heated. If anybody had to put those up on like an elevated thing, they're unstable, and then you've got wires to contend with that are hanging. And it's not good at all, and it's not stable. Next, when you go to the pedestal bird baths, the little tiny ones that some people gravitate to happen to be metal, and you shouldn't be using the metal because it heats up, and it's not good for the birds. There's always going to be some residue. When you go to the regular ceramic ones, they are highly unstable. So if you're even walking around and doing stuff in your yard or picking flowers or pruning or doing something, they're not stable at all. You hit it, it's gonna go down. That's it. So my next thing is you're going to grandfather in everybody's type of bird, and I don't even want to use the word bird, water containers on the ground that they currently have on their property that they've spent money for. Will that be grandfathered in? It should be. Why should anybody have to take a loss on something that's aesthetically pleasing on their property that they've invested money in for what I'm going to say, one man's vision of how he can see something? And I don't mean it for this council, it's the only way I can word it. One man's vision, I'm gonna change all this and we're going to this is how I want the properties to look. That's why we're doing it. We're not doing it for any other reason. It's a control, and that is really micromanagement. That is an overreach. And like I said, I'm glad that the blight one was, because that was a big overreach, because if we're gonna do what other cities do with blight, I've got some things that ought to be put on it that this city has not addressed and won't address. So grandfathered in, telling people after 30 years, 20 years, or 50 years, how they're gonna contain water for a bird to possibly take a bath in their yard? What do you want me to do, dig little holes? Look how ugly that would look. Little holes and little wires and some rocks, try to clean it, okay? But that's something that's why I'm asking, and that is a minor thing to be adjusted. But if not, you're gonna have to grandfather it in, and if not, if I was me, I'd be asking, who's gonna reimburse me? That's a lot of money I've got in those, and they've been there for many, many years. 30 years, 40 years, and because somebody doesn't like it.
Thank you for your public comment, Pat. Appreciate it. Any other public comment tonight? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I thought the Founder's Day was a big success. I thought the lecture was interesting. And it was brief but interesting, I thought. And the dancers, the Irish dancers were fun, and a great event for our heritage of our city. So thank you to the Historical Commission and everybody.
Thank you. Counselor Sage?
Nothing this evening.
I did go to the same event, and it was wonderful. I just was wondering if we have an Irish heritage, or is that why they have those dancers there? Okay, I was wondering about that. I don't know if it's Irish or, anyway.
March 17th is our Founder's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day.
I guess I didn't know that about Rochester. I've never heard that referred to before, so that makes sense about the day. Marilyn and I went to the CapCon conference for the MML, and without going into great detail because it's late, it was just great. It was educational, the connections we made at all the breakouts for lunch, and we're from different cities and different mayors and city council, and well worth it. Yeah, we came back energized with very full brains and trying to figure out.
More energized?
More energized. Can you imagine the two of us being more energized?
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, that was good. Thank you to the city for allowing us to go. And then you just mentioned in that survey about music being important. Well, the Lions Park will be opening up. I know Chief met the representative from RARA there to discuss some of the details. They're going to be working with the Mills as far as sponsoring the bands. They were starting to call the bands. There's going to be 4 Thursdays and 2 Saturdays that there will be music at that park. So we're super excited to start that and seeing that happen. And then the final thing is this is a RARA thing, but RAYA funds it. It's Camp Safari. It's a low-cost summer day camp. The buses actually pick them up at their locations. It's an amazing opportunity for moms or dads or both that work in the summer and need a place for their kids to go. Camp Safari on the RARA website. Yes, done.
Just quickly, just Founder's Day was excellent. Learned about a lot about the indigenous Indians that were here. So it was really fascinating and very interesting presentation by Oakland County Parks historian. I didn't know we had one, but that was I really enjoyed it. And also CapCon conference, they have it annually. The Michigan Municipal League has it annually, and it was really, really interesting. And yes, I'm more energized too. But yeah, I might have more to say about that, but not tonight. Because I actually am running out of energy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm all set.
You've yielded the floor. I'll just briefly say that I heard Founder's Day was fantastic. It is wonderful. I'm hoping next year we can have it at the Graham, where we can celebrate the Grahams at the Graham. I think that would be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, it would be, yeah.
And I just really wanted to compliment and thank all of council for all of our discussions and our deliberations. You know, we've had a lot of discussions over the past week, and I just appreciate everyone's attitude and just digging into the detail. And I know it's because we all just greatly love our city, right? You know, we love Rochester. And so thank you for doing what you do for the city. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.